What's up, gamers? It's Mr. Kzo back at it again with another debate reaction. This time, I'm a little late to this one, I'm not gonna lie, okay? I was busy recording some Metro and I didn't really get around to watching this. I haven't even watched it. We're gonna do a blind reaction. We are going to be watching the Candace Owens and Andrew Wilson debate. I've seen a lot of people talk about it, and it was basically a blowout for Candace Owens, but we'll see. I'm assuming it will be, but I haven't heard. I just heard the debate wasn't as good as it needed to be, but doesn't matter. We're gonna watch it. We're gonna react to it. We're gonna see if it's good or not, and let's get into it.
Are we live?
Are we live?
Okay, so we're officially live.
Bro wants to be Dashy so
Candace, Andrew, you know, good to sit down here with you, talking to you guys about the conversation that I think started with you being on Joe Rogan when you said, "Hey, I'm offering $300,000," and for the audience, why?
Bro paid $300,000 to debate her in her home, and then all this drama's happening after. And
Watching this, you have to know when you see this final product, there's a lot of stuff that happens behind closed doors. There was still communication till midnight. Even some of the stuff this morning, like it's like you're trying to sell a company. It's the last 24 hours that the deal doesn't work out. But kudos to the both of you guys that you made it work.
That's crazy.
The topic of discussion today, how this got prompted is, Andrew, you said there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson shot and killed Charlie Kirk.
Yes.
And Candace, your position was he's a patsy. Tyler Robinson is a patsy. So
Who
of course we'll talk about a lot
then?
of different things, but that's kind of how the whole thing got started. For the audience watching, I think this is truly for three different people. Number one is anybody out there that loves Charlie, respects Charlie, his legacy, what he did. We have a lot of love and admiration for what he did. He changed the lives of many people, young men, young women. You worked with him for many years. You guys were friends. You've said a lot of good things about Charlie, respectful towards him. You guys may have disagreed on some things, but you had a lot of respect for him. The second audience is the folks out there, you, that's watching this. And so for you, you've been wanting something like this to take place, and kudos for Andrew for coming out and saying, hey, I want to have this conversation, and for Candace to accept it. So you have the ability to say, I agree, I disagree, comment, do all the stuff that you're doing online. And if you want to see more of these things, any of the three channels, subscribe to them, the Candace Show, the Crucible, I'm sure some of the people from Crucible are watching as well, and the PBD Podcast. The more you subscribe to this, the more we're able to deliver these types of conversations to you. And last but not least, it's about the two of you. My goal is to speak as little as possible. 99% of the time it'll be you guys.
Yeah, I will say I am biased. I don't like Candace Owens. She's crazy. She has milked Charlie Kirk's death to literal death. She is the reason why we, as the right wing, did not go. Well, she's a major factor in the fact that the right wing had the overwhelming support to go after the left, and we could have gone and destroyed them for the disgusting reaction they gave to Charlie Kirk's death. They were all celebrating it. So that showed the entire country that these people are disgusting and they have no place in politics because they don't care about human life. But she was like, oh, but Israel. Oh, but was Tyler Robinson the real killer? And then everyone got distracted. And the left, they're thriving now. The DSA are getting in power, and these leftoid idiots are still have careers. And it's just a big wasted opportunity for the right wing. And it's just cringe.
Speaking, and the audience will be able to see it. If I jump in, just so everybody knows, on the back end, both have agreed. In the back, there's three people representing Andrew and three people representing Candace to do fact checking. So at any point, if somebody makes a claim, the other can say, can we fact check this?
I do like that, though. That's a very good aspect of the debates nowadays, the Jubilee debates and all that other crap. They're having fact checkers based. That's pretty poggers.
I can jump in and say fact check this. Even the folks in the back can say fact check this. So it is a very fair conversation that we're having here.
Can I get a fact check
and
on
so
it?
With that being said,
Brigitte Macron has a penis.
Kudos to Michael Knowles. Your name was mentioned a lot. You missed out right now. The last 10 minutes, we talked about you. There's a lot of love and respect here mutually from both parties, all three of them here. And then, of course, the great Joe Rogan that started this conversation.
Dude,
and he also
like,
volunteered,
I can't smoke.
But it ended up being
like
this format that we have here today. So with that being said, Andrew, your claim is overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk Opening statements, opening comments.
Sure. And what I mean by overwhelming is I just find it very convincing. That's, I think that's what most people mean when they say overwhelming evidence.
Yeah, I'm overly convinced.
So I have a brief opening statement.
I would say like overly
on September
convinced
10th,
is like, you could debate if it's 70 to 80% convinced, like a percentage. I'm 80% convinced that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. Maybe even 90%, probably 90%. 90% equals overwhelming evidence to support that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. That would make sense.
20.
Also, a document, if I remember correctly, a document came out like yesterday that they're not disputing that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. Tyler Robinson's defense is not disputing the claim that he didn't kill him. And I think Tyler Robinson agreed that he killed him. And new court documents like released yesterday.
5, Charlie Kirk was murdered. Many of you already know a lot about the events which occurred after Kirk's death. You remember the ghoulish laughter, celebrations, and madness we saw from leftists all over, from TikTok invasions, debates, posts on social media, destruction of memorials, and things like this.
Yeah.
Within weeks of Kirk's death, a cottage industry began to form, peddling various alternative theories on how he died.
True.
What special interest may have killed him, what nations were involved, and was
Egyptian
our own
planes,
government one
exploding
of them?
Mike.
Because this was the
Idiots.
first nationwide traumatic event in Gen Z's lifetime.
That is
The
true.
demand for answers was severe and palpable.
I was actually like,
The leading theory from the conspiracy
shocked.
verse is that Israel worked with the United States government to murder Charlie Kirk. Within a day or two of Kirk's death, Ian Carroll claimed that Israel killed Charlie Kirk. And the conspiracy caught on like wildfire. This theory was built on one misleading piece of evidence. That in his final days, on or around September 8th, Charlie sent a text message reading, "Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause." This was sent in the context of a platforming dispute regarding Tucker Carlson. From this scintilla of misleading information, it was speculated that Israel killed Charlie Kirk because he would have successfully opposed the Iranian war. Now, that's a fun theory, and who doesn't like a good, fun conspiracy theory? I like them. But there is no evidence that Israel actually killed Charlie Kirk.
true.
And if Candace has some, I'd like her to actually show it to me. I'm open to suggestions, but to date, there hasn't been any. There is, however, tons of evidence that a leftist killed Charlie Kirk, just as Charlie feared they would. I believe Charlie Kirk, and I have the receipts. No, I didn't have a dream where he came to me and told me that the left killed him.
Throwing shade already,
No,
based.
he didn't come to me a dream and say, Candace Owens betrayed him. That never happened. In fact, I don't need dreams of any kind because I hold in my possession never before seen messages from Charlie Kirk to his security team on September 9th, 2025. I'm going to share the message with you today, which is the first time this information's ever been publicly revealed. On September 9th, Charlie's security team wrote to him, "Yes, law enforcement has been fully supportive and agreed to a security plan and posture. Tomorrow's event will be covered by both my team and the campus PD. If additional support is required, patrol units will be available. I have 11 on site." Charlie responded with this, "Okay, great. Remind them that they are there for one person's security only, because I'm somewhat worried the left is trying to kill me." That was a message sent September 9th. Whatever could he have meant by that? Well, I think he meant exactly what he said.
Yep.
That he was worried the left was going to try to kill him.
Yep.
Now, we'll discuss this more later on in the debate, and maybe I have more never-before-seen evidence that exposes just how wrong and, in my opinion, idiotic many of these conspiracy theories have been. But that's what happens when you rely on what's called the evidence of the gaps. In other words, they don't have evidence, they seem to just make up evidence. And what did they make up? Well, in my opinion, kind of whatever lined the pockets. And I think it's ghoulish to profit off of the death of a good man. But we came here today to debate, and so let's get to it. The debate topic today is 1, my belief that there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk, and 2, Candace's belief that there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson was a patsy and didn't kill Charlie Kirk. In sum, the audience is going to decide who has more evidence supporting their theory. My theory is that the state is correct that Tyler Robinson is the killer, at least based on evidence so far, and Candace's theory that Tyler Robinson is not the killer and he's a patsy set up by the feds. To be clear, this is not a question of reasonable doubt. If it was reasonable doubt, and that's all it was, and that's all Candace was proffering, I wouldn't even be here having the debate with her. It's fair to have doubts, as a trial has yet to occur, and the state hasn't even begun to try to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. But Candace makes a more forceful claim. She claims that there's more evidence that Tyler is not guilty of murder.
That's
And was
crazy.
set up as a patsy than there is for the state's case. And I just think that that's absurd. And she will not be able to demonstrate that in any way. In fact, she has almost no real evidence at all of her theory, whereas my theory is supported by compelling witness testimony, physical evidence, multiple confessions, all of which are independently compelling, but which are even more convincing as each piece of evidence corroborates the others. You'll notice the term overwhelming was included in both theories. This is because Candace demanded I defend my use of that term, which I think is fair, in describing the evidence against Tyler Robinson. She, on the other hand, only wanted to defend her theory as merely viable. That is, until I showed her clips in which she said she believed the evidence of her theory, that Tyler Robinson's a patsy, was supported by overwhelming evidence. Only then did she agree to defend that position.
That's
Regardless, we're both defending the claim. There's overwhelming evidence on our side, so it's worth defining that term.
Yeah.
When I say the evidence against Robinson's overwhelming, all I'm saying is that I mean that as of right now, I find it very convincing. I see almost no evidence at all, only speculation on verified claims and suggestions of things that could merely be hypothetically possible. Dreams, vibes, feelings, things like this. Almost done, by the way. I have no problem defending the state's case and welcome Candace bringing up any challenges she would like, but if I'm honest, the reason I was willing to pay the $300,000 for this debate was to finally have a chance for someone to demand Candace be held accountable for the unbelievable theories and claims she's been making.
So true.
Candace's investigation is indistinguishable from a leftist operation. She couldn't be doing more damage to the right if she were trying. She uses her considerable platform to relentlessly attack one of the most influential conservative outreach organizations for young people, and she's making a mockery of the online right-wing commentary class.
True.
She's harming Republicans in an election year by dividing them. She's attacking the very organization Charlie spent his life building, and she's attacking the people he loved, including his wife. And
True.
it cost me $300,000, but today I hope that she finally answers for some of that.
True.
Thank
Base.
you, Andrew.
W.
Candace?
Did you get it out of your
intro.
system?
I did.
Okay, great. Well, I'm not going to waste time with the
Sassy.
preamble because I think I just want to get to the substance of the debate, and we'll just speak to the audience. I have obviously had an audience since we've been covering this case. People know that there was a personal friendship between me and Charlie, and diminishing the pursuit of something that makes sense regarding what happened on September 10th. By throwing it to this is just people who are conspiracy theorists. These are people who are just trying to generate clicks.
That's
I
literally what it
don't think that
is.
people should be satisfied by that. I want people to remember that it's important to think. We've been lied to by the government a great many times over, just the last couple of years, if you just think of the things that we've learned about our government. And I do want to say this. What's been the most disturbing element, I think, for everyone is that not only does the narrative not make any sense, which I'm going to demonstrate, I don't need to waste time with the preamble going through the points or trying
Preamble, it's an opening statement. He's stating his position. What are you talking about?
to insult you or pretending that I've been running a podcast saying it's just dreams and vibes like I'm Miss Cleo.
That's
the
literally
reason-
what you've been doing. Charlie Kirk came to me in a dream. That's your evidence, bro. That's insane. You're an insane person.
Why it's taking so many influencers. It looks like $1 billion industry of influencers to dispute everything Candace says is not because I'm on my platform saying I had a dream last night. I don't think that I think that diminishes you as an argument. Obviously, we have presented a lot of evidence. You just presented a text message and said this is evidence. Well, that's how this entire thing began. You're talking about how Israel got into the conversation. It was because immediately after Charlie died, one of the first things we saw was this push to make us all think and remember how much he loved Israel. It's because the prime minister of Israel, who's fighting like a 27 front war, felt that he needed to come do a little mini tour and to be, strangely, to state that I did not kill Charlie Kirk when nobody was having that thought that I can remember. Nobody was going, I wonder if Bibi Netanyahu killed.
Everyone was going schizo over Israel. You know how badly they've ever since October 7th, people have hated the sentiment for the hatred of Israel has grown tremendously because of the Free Palestine movement and all of that. And now no one likes Israel right now. There's not a lot of, you got Nick Matau, all right? You got Israel's biggest new defender is Nick Matau No disrespect to him. He's very intelligent and a great debater. But BB probably had to come out and be like, all right, before anyone goes schizo crazy, we did not kill Charlie Kirk. Okay? We didn't do that. Charlie Kirk loved Israel. Okay? You can't dispute that. All the text messages, that whole thing got worked out, that he was just kind of pissed off at a donor for pulling their money because he was putting Tucker Carlson at the CPAC. That was kind of it, I'm pretty sure. But like
Charlie Kirk. And then we had a round of influencers who lied and said Charlie was not changing on Israel, that he wasn't having any disagreements regarding that topic, that the day he died, he just loved Israel so much. And I demonstrated via a text message, which you just mentioned, and you're now contextualizing and pretending it was just about Tucker Carlson, which is not true. It was a part of a broader shift that Charlie was having over the last, I would say, actually, on your show, it began since October 7th, which is when I began asking myself more questions about Israel as well. And so, yeah, when
that's valid.
All of these things happen in immediate aftermath, and then I drop a text message after everyone is denying that, Tucker Carlson then comes out and confirms the conversations that he had with Charlie. Megyn Kelly then comes out and confirms the private conversations that she had with Charlie. People then begin to ask a reasonable question,
but he was struggling just to
defend
defend Israel.
If they were forthcoming with that and they had said, hey, yeah, Charlie was starting to ask questions. I think after October 7th, it's reasonable that people are starting to re-examine our relationship with Israel. We wouldn't be here today. Sure. But it has been lie after lie after lie, debunk after debunk after debunk. Yes, I did share that I had a dream that Charlie was betrayed. It's not a dream anymore. It's a reality. I look at what the organization has become, the people that they are partnering with, the lies that they are telling, the extraordinary people that they're sending out to say that I hadn't speak to Charlie since 2018, and it begins to look like a conspiracy. And just as a historical fact, that entire term was created by the CIA to gaslight people after the assassination of JFK. So it's not exactly one that makes me nervous. Like calling somebody a conspiracy theorist is essentially saying that they demand further answers and they're not accepting the Fed slop. So I'm grateful that you came today. I don't need to, like I said, take cheap shots and discuss your manner of debate or your strategy.
The Fed slop is literally accepting that there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. That's Fed slop. Also, can we get a fact check on conspiracy? I think the word conspire comes before the JFK assassination, but it doesn't matter. No need to get off in the weeds right now.
And I'm also grateful that you shared that you had that text message today, because everybody watching knows that I have been demanding not a debate, just an open conversation with Turning Point USA. They should be here. It shouldn't be you in that chair. It should be the person that took Charlie's place, maybe Erica Kirk, maybe Andrew Colbert. He's a spokesperson. And rather than doing that, they send us another influencer.
You're kind of just a thorn in their side, though. Like, I don't think they just care to talk to you.
Between 0 to 100, what is the likelihood that you think Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk?
95.
Based on the evidence right now, I don't know, I'd say 75, 85%.
Candace?
95 for me.
0%?
0%?
So
with what we've seen in terms of the evidence, I'm at 0%.
So
you're crazy.
Not only, that maybe somebody was behind him as a patsy influencing him. You're not even saying that he didn't even shoot Charlie Kirk.
Right. I would, if you said, was he involved that day, as I have consistently said on my platform, I would say yes, he was.
What was he? What was he doing?
He played, but as the shooter, 0%.
Do you have any evidence for it?
For what? My percentage?
The fact that he didn't.
The fact that he didn't shoot him.
Yes, which I'm hoping we're going to get to all of the evidence that he feels that he has. I mean, I'm not even convinced that Charlie was shot from the rooftop on Losi that day, based on the evidence that has been.
Do you think he was shot?
I do not think that Charlie was shot from a 30-06 from Losi.
Yeah, but just shot at all.
Shot at all.
I don't know. I think that a projectile.
What are we doing? What are we doing? Unironically, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? The schizotard nonsense has really, everyone's too schizo-pilled and just conspiratards.
Hit Charlie, and I'm open to other people's presentations, but I have not seen any compelling evidence that Charlie was shot by a 30-06.
Can we see
I don't-
maybe?
how about
if
can you
we're
show the
gonna,
video where he gets
have an
shot in the
olive branch to
neck?
Each other, if maybe we can establish what we consider the facts of the case to be first.
All right.
Sure.
Okay. So you're not sure if he was actually shot. You're open to alternative theories. To that.
He was definitely hit with a projectile of some description. If we're talking about was he shot from a gun, a 30-06, I would say definitively no.
Okay.
It defies common sense to think that he had a
Defies common sense. I don't think you have any of that.
Superman neck, and even if he did have a Superman neck, which has been demonstrated, I think actually recently a YouTuber actually set up Valhalla steel cages and shot it, and it went through. So under no circumstance will I.
So at least not
Bullets
a 30-06.
do crazy things.
Definitively not. A
Okay,
30-06
but you
from
are
low C,
open-
150 feet. No,
But you're not necessarily closing off the avenue that he could have been shot at all.
with maybe a smaller.
Smaller
Caliber?
caliber. Okay. And then
Like what?
there's some things that I'm going to make concessions on that I do think we need more answers on, and I'm fine with that. And we can get to those things as well. The other thing is in the timeline, one of the things that we dispute, I think, on the timeline is that you think that Robinson drove hours away to a steakhouse in
Yes.
the timeline. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what's the compelling evidence that you think you have there?
I spoke to the owner of the restaurant, and I have seen the receipt. I know the conversation that I had, and I think it's enough that it will be presented. Obviously, if this goes to trial, but yes, I do believe that he was in Panguitch, which is near his grandparents' home.
Did he give you an unedited copy of that receipt?
I have seen an unedited copy of that receipt. It was not given to me from the owner. But I want to, before we get into like all the timeline stuff, I want to address what you think is evidence so we can keep this on par with what your claim is. Since
Well, I think that that's a piece of evidence that's in dispute, and that's why I'm.
yeah, but
because if
we're
not
trying to get
establishing
to
the
whether there's
timeline-
overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson did this.
Yeah,
so
if you
rather
wanna
than
use the
starting
first-
with
if you want to use the first part of that for the
yeah,
internal critique,
yeah,
for you,
we should
that's
go
fine.
over the actual
Okay,
evidence that
so
we feel.
The first reason that,
That
I
we
think,
feel.
and I
Hate
think
that.
it's compelling evidence, is that Tyler Robinson's rifle was found near the crime scene. So I would consider that to be very good evidence. And also the fact of the matter is that I dispute this claim that a 30-06 could not have made this wound. I think that that's absurd. 150 grain Remington core lock absolutely could shatter when it hits the neck of any human being. When you say that there's some steel neck and it's a smaller caliber, you have to make a counter explanation. Why wouldn't a smaller caliber also go through bone?
It could. I didn't say it can't.
Right, exactly. So if that's the case, then ammunition is going to be the critical key here. And if we have frangible ammunition, which we do in this case, a flex tip round, well, I'm sorry, not a flex tip, a soft point round from a 150 grain Remington core lock, that's just a small jacket that goes around the actual lead piece. This thing could have split apart in air for all we know, but definitely upon impact. And we have the medical examiner who confirms this in a summary. And my team can bring that up, the summarization, which means he would have to be a part of some kind of conspiracy as well.
Okay, so just to start with your point about saying that the gun was found near him, near Losey Center, or I guess off in the woods. That gun, did you watch the testimony? Did you watch the preliminary
hearing?
hearing?
Yeah, we covered it live. Yeah.
Okay, so forgetting what the summary of the medical report was, did you watch the testimony that was given by the Caitlin Oliver, the ATF woman, Samantha Carner, any of those people who went into the science of
Yes, I recall. You're talking about
the bullet
when they-
analysis?
Yeah, when they went into the DNA.
Okay, so that's kind of the most relevant part.
Okay.
I'm not denying, I've never denied on my platform or anywhere else that a gun owned by Tyler Robinson was found near the crime scene, right?
Okay.
Okay.
That doesn't remove, if you think somebody's set up as a patsy, you could take a gun out of this room right now and you could walk out and plant it in the woods near a crime scene.
I
That's
agree.
not convincing evidence.
Yeah,
I
that
concur with the fact that that's a possibility.
So
that
you
logically possible.
I think, have said on a platform that you were a gunsmith. Mm-hmm. Okay, and for how many years?
many years.
For many years.
Mm-hmm.
You also said that you were an Army sniper.
I wasn't a sniper in the Army.
Okay.
And I never said that. by the
Sorry,
way.
your wife tweeted that you were an Army sniper.
Yeah, I don't know. Like 15 years ago, she said something.
Does it
She said
change
that
15
was-
years later?
She said that
Yeah.
it was colloquial. So
Army sniper is a colloquial term?
Yeah, I was never an Army sniper.
Okay. What did you do in the Army? Did you teach? She then I corrected it and said you taught rifles in the Army?
No, I didn't teach rifle. No, I taught rifles as a private citizen.
Okay.
And I was an NRA instructor for many, many, many years alongside my gun shop.
As with your expertise, when she gave testimony on the stand, Samantha Carner, that there was dust and there was debris that was found in the gun barrel.
Yep.
And then when we had the person who, and this was, I believe, Caitlin Oliver, who explained painfully about the DNA, the prints.
Well, let's start with a point at a time.
I'm not done. You said something, so I'm going to finish my thought, right?
You don't want to do a point at a time?
No, well, sure. If you want to respond to,
Well,
but I want you to respond to 2 points.
debris.
I want you to start with 2 points.
Okay.
Dust and debris in the gun barrel.
Yeah.
Secondly, the fact that there were 5 sets of prints, 5 plus actually by the end of the testimony, 5 sets of prints.
Yeah, but which one connected him? Which one was the most overwhelmingly connected and the most recent to Tyler Robinson, or to the culprit? It was Tyler Robinson's, wasn't it? His DNA was like a 1 to a trillion that was like overwhelmingly pointing towards him. I haven't read the case. I'm not the most educated on it. I just want him to go to jail. I'm pissed off that the leftists have gotten away with their nonsense. That's the only thing I'm pissed off about.
For which we already
honest,
had
that's
the
my
woman
main
who worked
gripe.
for the FBI forensics testify that above 2 prints, if you're taking a sample, it's no longer a science, right? She testified that when they took the sample of what was on the trigger, they saw 5 plus prints, and among those 5 plus prints, Tyler Robinson's was the most degraded.
Oh, most
So I would like you
degraded?
to explain how Tyler Robinson's prints could be the most degraded when she said, actually, you could have DNA on something that you've touched. You could have DNA on something that you've never touched. And to get DNA degradation, they've looked at pieces, items 20, 40 years on that don't have degradation. Yet Tyler Robinson's prints, amongst 5 plus other prints, were the most degraded on that weapon.
Yeah. So let's get into all 3 of the claims. First, with debris. When it comes to debris, firing a rifle doesn't always blow the debris out of the barrel.
Okay, you think there could be debris and dust.
Yeah.
He just fired the weapon.
Sure.
Okay.
Not only that, he left it in a forest. Now, I don't know if you agree with me, but if you leave a rifle in a wooded area, it's also possible that debris could get in that way. But I'm not even sure that that's what the case is. I think it's far more likely that you fired the shot, it just didn't blow all the debris out, and it often doesn't. You'll find this if you take Grandpappy's dirty rifle and it's all dusty inside the bore and you go fire it, you'll often look down the bore and there's still dust.
Okay.
Happens all the time.
Okay, and the prints?
Yeah, so the prints, we don't know all of the details on just yet.
We do. It was excruciatingly long testimony on the prints.
We don't, because they haven't gone to trial, so we don't know on the print front. But Tyler Robinson's DNA was on there. You made the claim that Lance Twig's DNA was on there, and it was not.
Well, when she gave the testimony, no, hold on. First, let's go to your first point, because that's wrong. We can get a fact check on that. What do you mean we don't know until it goes to trial about the degraded prints? She testified, and this is the person who took the prints.
Yes, but the problem is that inside of this particular testimony, you agree with me that there's going to be much more of the DNA analysis during the trial, right?
But you also would agree that her fact is not going to change, that among the prints, his was the most degraded. So I'm asking you to address that. How could that be possible?
Let's give it, let's just grant this for a second as a possibility that
I got to watch Nick Mattel's review of this because he knows all the evidence too.
his fingerprints were degraded.
It's not a possibility. It's a fact. The person who took
hang
it.
on. I'm just granting it for the sake of argument.
You should grant it because it's a fact that she presented.
So now it's granted. So what?
What do you mean? So what?
So what? What does that prove?
It proves that if his prints were the most degraded amongst 5 of them, you're going to have to explain how that's possible if he's the one that recently fired the weapon.
Yeah, so wait a second. You're saying that it's an impossibility that if his fingerprints are the most degraded,
I'm telling you to
that's
explain
the
it.
case.
You're the gunsmith.
Well,
so
wait a
explain
second. How would a gunsmith give an analysis on fingerprints or DNA? Do you
Yeah,
think that
he's
I
not
work
a
in
forensic
DNA
scientist.
laboratory
So
with
your
fingerprints?
answer is I don't know. You can just say you don't know.
But
you
I
don't
did.
have to.
But I did.
No, you said so what?
Yeah,
say,
so-
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
so-
actually don't have
yeah,
an
What would
explanation
that
for that,
prove,
Candace.
though, is my question.
Well, I think that what it would prove is that it is a more viable theory that people who had stronger prints on the gun may have used it more recently.
Did they say who else had fingerprints on the gun?
They named Matt Robinson explicitly.
Okay.
And this was a part of the testimony where she was speaking about how they got samples of elimination samples from the home of Amber Robinson, Matt Robinson, and Lance Twiggs. Those are the three names they named.
Maybe it was
are you
Lance
saying that
Twiggs.
Twiggs'
Would you like me to
fingerprints-
finish my statement?
I just want to make sure I'm clarifying.
I'm trying to finish the answer, but it can't be clarified until the answer comes out of my mouth.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
this was a portion of her testimony where she was explaining how they got elimination samples from the home. And she named Matt Robinson, Amber Robinson, and Lance Twiggs as the elimination samples that she was using. And so she explicitly said, some of them, so we can assume 2 out of the 3, were their prints were found on the gun. She explicitly named Matt Robinson as someone who had prints on the gun, and then said there were 5 people that they had taken that sample from. And again, what's also relevant here is the earlier testimony, which came from the FBI forensics analyst, I believe it was on day 2, where she said that when you're using those mixtures and those samples and you get up to 5+, it's really hard to make any sort of a determination. So both of those things are relevant. If you can't explain why his prints are the most degraded and you're saying he is the shooter, it's not really a so what. It's an open-ended question that people have a right to pursue. It's not a conspiracy. It's actually proof of my claim.
You would just have
that
to
there's
understand
evidence that
that
he
the
was
difference-
set up as a patsy.
That
I need
wouldn't
to-
prove anything about him being a patsy.
It said
Yeah.
it's evidence to support the claim that he could have been set up
Okay.
as a patsy.
So this is why I
Okay.
said earlier, so what? Because even if it's the case, this doesn't have an explanation for it yet. That doesn't actually give you any evidence in your corner for Tyler Robinson being a patsy.
Okay, you
hang
actually-
on. I didn't cut you off. Right? You would need to actually explain how this would demonstrate Tyler Robinson. This is tied into Robinson being a patsy. Are you claiming that these fingerprints were Lance Twiggs or that he had any DNA there?
I'm saying that it could be Matt Robinson, it could be Amber Robinson. That sort of information is going to come out during the trial.
How would that tie into the
alibis.
idea that he's a patsy?
Yes,
though?
because if his is the most degraded prints and the information that I shared on my platform is true, that this gun was given to Tyler Robinson as an heirloom. I had conversation with members of the Robinson family, Twiggs family, both of them. You know,
Okay.
like I said, we're not just dreaming. And if
literally are.
we're having those conversations, and they told me that that gun was only given to Tyler Robinson because it was a family heirloom. Okay, so it was his grandfather's gun or great grandfather's gun.
Okay.
I don't remember the
And?
difference. I don't remember which one it was. And so
that
he
make
got
him
it
a
because
patsy?
he's the firstborn. So, but he's not much of a shooter, is what I was told. And so he has this because he inherited it, essentially. So if I get something
and?
from my grandpa and I put it up on the shelf and I own this, you could see that could be.
How do we get to the patsy part?
Yes.
You don't let me ever get to the end of the sentence. So how could we get to the patsy part?
Okay,
if I can't
I'll
get
wait.
to the end
I'll
of the
wait
sentence.
patiently till we get to
So
the
that
patsy
could be a
part.
reasonable explanation as to why there was dust in the barrel, because he doesn't often shoot this weapon and he is indeed a fisher. And it could also be a reasonable explanation for why we have Matt Robinson's prints on this. Obviously, Lance Twiggs, even if he has prints on things, they live together. That doesn't really mean anything. But that could demonstrate that somebody took his weapon and put it somewhere. His prints are the most degraded. Somebody else's prints, there's more presence of somebody else's prints, and that could demonstrate that somebody is taking items from his house and putting it into
But it
various
also
places.
could demonstrate nothing. So the problem that you have here is that this is pure conjecture.
No.
This is not evidence that Tyler Robinson is a patsy. It's only evidence that you have conjectured up that, well, if it's the case that these are the more degraded prints, then therefore that means must be patsy because dad's fingerprints on gun.
I didn't say must be
Describe
patsy.
how this actually links in to Robinson being a patsy.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have to. I mean, I don't understand the scientific investigation they go along with to measure prints out. Like what? So I'm assuming that if they're the most degraded, then what does that mean? Do you think could it be that he just tried to wipe the prints when he shot the gun, so they could be degraded? Like what degrade? I don't even know what degrades fingerprints. Do you think he tried to just clean the gun off and stuff? Like couldn't that just be the explanation? He shot him, then tried to clean the gun off, or put it in. He wrapped it in a towel, right? So he maybe wiped them clean or did something to do that. Like, I don't think that just because the fingerprints are the most degraded, then that doesn't really mean anything to me, right? Because it also depends on where the fingerprints at, right? And they discuss where the fingerprints are at. If they're the most degraded on what? The barrel? Are they the most degraded on the trigger? Are they the most degraded on the stock? Or like where, right? So I don't know.
Okay, I just described that for you, so I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you, so I'm going to move on from that. But
Ooh,
to just go back
sassy.
to your point about this is not evident.
Every dumb schizotard is like, oh my gosh, she really got him. I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. Cool. Nice little nice
you
sass.
can't make that claim
No one
because
cares.
the entire basis for why you think that there's evidence for Tyler Robinson being the person that took the shot is based off of a hearing under Utah 1102 rules, meaning that they are doing the exact same thing that I am doing. This is the state. You said you're here to represent the state. Well, did you watch the preliminary
no, I
hearing?
didn't say I was here to represent the state.
The state's position you think is strong and convincing.
What
okay?
I'm here to do is represent my own opinion,
You
which
said
is
in
that
your opening
based on
statement-
based on the evidence presented so far by the state.
The state has
that I find it
presented
convincing.
evidence under Utah's 1102 rule.
But this doesn't demonstrate any patsy
No, that's very
behavior.
important because that rule is hearsay. So you can't say at the same time,
Great.
Candace, you're not allowed to. And what that means under the Utah rule, which I'm sure you know, because I'm sure you watched the preliminary hearing and yourself understand what that means, is that the entire hearing was hearsay. It means none of that information that was presented is going to be allowed. The majority of it, the overwhelming majority of it, is not going to be allowed at the trial. They're
Is that
allowed to
true?
present when it's just a probative
I
hearing.
don't think all the evidence that was put in was hearsay.
Okay, you didn't watch this case.
But not only that,
No, this is a huge point. This is crazy
we
that you
can
don't
call
know
for
this.
a fact check if
Yes,
all the evidence
we need
was
more than a
put
fact
in.
check. This was every single
The
day.
team in the back is
Utah
actually
Rule
saying
1102.
They want to go there. So they said there's a medical examiner's explanation of the shooting that's in the back. Rob, if you want to pull it up.
Rob.
And then
Rob
Candace,
Noor.
if anybody from your team wants to pull something up, no problem as well. But they're requesting it. If you guys got it, pull it up so we can show it. And in the interim, is that it?
Yeah. So I'll read this.
Just what are we looking at, just so we know?
Yeah, so the
trial?
This says the bullet, or at least part of it, sequentially perforated the interior left of Mr. Kirk's neck, strap muscles of the left side of the neck. This is a summary, by the way. Left common cartoid on the left internal external jugular veins. The bullet also obliterated the left side C27 vertebrae, transacted the cervical spinal cord. Medical examiner observed a significant portion of Kirk's cervical spinal cord was traumatically absent. Mr. Kirk suffered from other severe injuries, including bilateral, apical, and posterior intercostal hemorrhages, pulmonary, apical hemorrhages, multiple disruptions to the thyroid, et cetera, et cetera. So the summary of the examination is that he was shot.
Okay.
That was what they were pulling that up for.
Okay, and I'm not disputing that he could have been hit with a projectile.
Could have been?
We're not disputing that.
You're
so I don't know why
disputing
this
that he
brought
was
up as a fact
shot.
check.
What are you talking
Could you
about?
bring up 1102 Utah rule? Because this is an unbelievable point that you're making by saying that I am not allowed to infer off of evidence.
You can infer. I'm trying to follow the inference.
But your entire reason, like you asserted that you believe there's overwhelming evidence on the basis of what we saw in the preliminary hearing. The entire preliminary hearing was hearsay.
Yeah, I'm fine with your inferences.
But no, you just literally said I couldn't do that. Yes, I can.
No, I didn't. I'm just saying from your inference, how do we get to Patsy?
This is how you got to Shooter. The Tyler Robinson did it.
No,
the same
no,
way
no, no,
that
I
you
didn't
got to
get to
Tyler
just
Robinson.
Shooter from that.
Yes, you did. You again,
literally
this is
didn't.
something important, so we should pull up a fact check about what the 1102 Utah, and under their constitution, for the sake of a preliminary hearing, they do not have to have hard evidence. They don't have to put people on the
I
trial,
agree they
swear
don't
them
have
in.
to.
But no, that's why the entire hearing was basically hearsay. Officer Bagley
But
was
not
saying,
all of it, like I said.
the overwhelming majority.
again, no
I mean,
disputes.
outside of the one that you don't want to give. Please don't cut me off.
Though.
Outside of that is what's in dispute. It means that your entire brand of saying you don't have evidence falls apart when the entire preliminary hearing is based off of hearsay. In fact, Lance's testimony before they had about an hour debate. Actually, maybe it was more than an hour debate before he sat, and they said this is not going to be allowed. You wouldn't even be allowed to do this. We'd be able to cross-examine him. The questions that they're asking Lance are all leading. And what did he say? Well, I'm the magistrate under Utah Constitution. 1102. It is my job to allow all of this so we can see if the state has enough here that we can then move to a trial, which will then, they would not allow this stuff. They would say we get to cross-examine.
Pause. All right, let's finish this debate. Also, can I just make a note real quick? It's the next day. Candace Owens has now come out and supported Lindsay Clancy and the woman who killed her 3 children, claiming that she's also innocent. So one, Candace Owens believes Tyler Robinson, the killer of Charlie Kirk, is innocent and is doing everything in her power to make sure that he gets off scot-free for killing Charlie Kirk. And now she is claiming that Lindsay Clancy is actually not at fault for killing her own children, even though she has admitted it. Her defense has admitted it, the prosecution admits it, and there's no disputation of her actually committing the act of killing her 3 children. Because all of the evidence points her to doing it. She confessed it, her DNA is on it, the husband has an alibi, and there's no other person who has any type of alibi or any other suspect to put into the place of the crime who killed her kids. She was, in my opinion, demonically possessed because she said she heard voices telling her she had to kill her kids and then kill herself. And that sounds like demon possession to me. It's not big pharma, it's sin and the devil at work in the world. So Candace Owens is, just another reason for her being actually an insane person. But yeah, these people need to, respectfully, these women need to get off the internet. Like, just get off the internet. You need to go live on like a farm that doesn't have access to Wi-Fi, and Starlink needs to be banned, and your phones need to be taken away. Maybe we give you like a Game Boy Deluxe, maybe a Game Boy Color, and then if you're good enough, we'll give you a DS, maybe a PSP. You work for it. You learn how to make sourdough. That's what my wife does. She makes sourdough. Make some sourdough, make some butter, make some mozzarella, get some homemaker qualities and skills built up. And then you're still not allowed on the internet. And then we give you a logic course. You have to take a logic and philosophy course for about 12 weeks while you're doing your little, learning how to sew and learning how to bake bread and apple pie and what else? Churn butter. Maybe milk a cow. Maybe learn how to plant some lettuce. Maybe learn a thing or two about agriculture. I don't know. Something to get you women off the internet, because this TikTok brain internet thing has obliterated women. Obliterated certain women who got one-shotted by TikTok. The algorithm has had its way with you, and it's not good. Okay, your husbands need to come in here and be like, all right, like, honey, give me your phone. We're banned TikTok. I'm putting a passcode on your phone, and you're not allowed on TikTok anymore. Okay, boom, bada bing. Submit to your husbands, as in submitting to the Lord. And husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church, meaning sacrificial love, that you will die for her. All right, that's the Christian way to do this. That's what we're all striving to do right now. I'm striving every day to love my wife as Christ loved the church, be patient with her, and pray to the Lord that I reflect him in our marriage. All right? But seriously, you women need help. Okay? You need help. Candace Owens needs help. All right, so let's pray for her to get off the internet. Let's pray for her to stop talking and ruining the right wing. The right wing is in absolute disarray right now. I'm not even going to cap. It's in disarray right now. We're going to lose the midterms, and we're going to lose 28, in my opinion. But that might be a good thing, so it might rally us back up together and be like, okay, we lost. We're absolutely getting obliterated. 4 more years of hopefully not a DSA candidate that might bring us back on. That might take us to a place of point of no return. Maybe, but I think we'll be okay. The only way we'll be okay is if our country actually becomes Christian. So enough of my babbling. Let's finish this.
Sure, you don't have to
do it. No, do it. I'll count them. Go ahead.
You don't
Name
have to
them.
put your fingers up.
Okay, hang on. Name them.
Yeah, sure.
Name them.
The first charge is aggravated murder, because that's what carries
Okay.
a death sentence
So
in the
murder.
state of Utah. No,
Next.
that is literally not murder.
Okay.
And so
Next.
just for people, I don't have to do it in a time limit. There's nothing going on. And just to explain to people the difference of why that really matters and shows that he doesn't actually care about this at all is because aggravated murder, it's narrowly.
Just because he hasn't memorized. Oh my gosh. Okay, maybe I don't need to do this. Turn my phone on. Just vibrate. Just because he didn't memorize each and every charge doesn't mean that he doesn't care about the case, lady. What is wrong with you? My headphones are too loud. Okay. Is my headphones charged? Okay, they're charged. Okay. Golly.
Defined, and because it carries a death sentence. I'm going to answer the question.
Good,
You're just going to recognize that your strategy of thinking that people are intimidated when you try to put a time constraint doesn't work, and you'll be better the next time you debate someone.
I got it. Give me the other ones.
The more you cut me off, the longer I'll take. Do you want to just wait for me to finish of why that's a big difference so that people don't walk away?
I just want you to list the charges.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. You just don't get to pretend that there's a time constraint for me to do that.
Well, how long does it take you to list 7 charges?
Because I'm speaking. You just got to.
It sounds like you're just delaying it because you don't know them.
I know all 7 of them,
Then
and I'm going to
tell me
say
them.
again, because you're going to get embarrassed. You don't have to rush this. I'm also showing an example of a very flawed debate strategy. I actually am under no time constraint.
I got one.
Great. The second charge is the felony discharge of a weapon. The next 2 charges are for obstruction of justice.
Okay.
The next 2 charges are for witness tampering.
Okay.
And
what's the specific charges, though?
That is them. Obstruction of justice, obstruction of justice, witness tampering.
Okay, and there's no other specifics to them.
Well, I can tell you why he's being charged with it.
Just the charges and then 7?
Yeah, see, the bad thing is when you try to be an a-hole and it doesn't work.
What's the 7th?
The last charge is violence in front of a minor.
Violence in front of a minor. That's
so
good.
then he's being charged with murder. You just say aggravated murder.
This is 30.
That's the distinction.
32.
You just want to.
It's a massive. It's
Got
like
it.
you cannot say murder versus aggravated murder.
Distinction.
This gets to the entire crux of why him being up for the death sentence. And I actually find the
hell is that?
defense's filing about why this is not aggravated to be very compelling of why it's not aggravated murder. I actually think that if the state was going to even try to pull this off, they should have charged him with just murder. And then
45.
I do also, again, want to stress to audiences
So these do the
that
same amount of damage.
debate strategy of thinking that you have to speak faster or somebody puts your hand up and they try to pretend like it's some sport. I think he thinks it's a blood sport. It's not. It's about being right and being principled when you're engaging. And you can make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time, but at least be genuine in pretending that you care about this case enough to know one of the 7 charges that are up against Tyler Robinson when you say the evidence is overwhelming that he's guilty. If you would like to move to final statements, I'm fine. I want to make sure Andrew has had the time that he has requested.
I think your team would like to pull up the 7 charges that he just asked you about. If you guys want to pull that up just to confirm
124 and this
the 7 you went through.
167, okay. Cool.
Can you guys zoom in a little bit for
aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm,
produced by
obstruction of justice, which is counts 3 and 4, 5 and 6, tampering with a witness.
Who gives?
And count 7,
violent
I said offense in the presence of a minor.
In front of a child.
Yeah. So 5, 6, tampering witness, 3rd-degree felony. Now, I did notice something I just was curious about. If I'm just wondering. When you pulled out your phone just before you asked that question, did somebody by chance text you that question?
You can check my phone.
I'm just curious.
No, you can absolutely not. I have not had one communication with a single person, not even my producers who are in there this whole time we were here. You want to check my phone? No. I'm happy to do it because you're just going to get double embarrassed. Where's my phone?
Double embarrassed.
I'm just curious. Yeah.
You can literally do that. Here you go. PBD.
Also, this does nothing. You can. Oh my gosh. Shut up. Annoying. You know, you can, you know what she admitted to earlier? That someone could go in her phone and delete your text messages. So it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter that, oh, look, I showed you my phone. No one texted me anything. Oh man, I got my AI tracking turned off. Beans. There we go. It doesn't matter that you're saying that because it doesn't, they can literally turn off or they can delete your messages. Ding dong. Doi. You admitted to that. Ding dong. So.
You're the moderator. Take it.
Oh my gosh. Who cares? She's so cringe. This is so performative.
About the violent charges or anything.
Like unironically so cringe.
I'm looking through this. You give me permission.
You have full permission to go through my phone. I don't need to cheat.
So cringe, bro.
Nothing to do with it. It's just a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't even read my text messages.
That's
so
a compliment.
He's reading them.
You're okay. You're giving me permission.
Yes.
I'm just going to read 3
Helmet.
to 1132 because after that, I don't need to read it.
Hands.
And you know, they're texts. Could have been Telegram. Could have been something.
All
like
I
that.
have is Signal. You can check that too. I only have Signal.
Okay.
Telegram I used in Russia,
44.
and that was a download for
I'll
Russia.
take your word for it.
Yeah,
Then-
I don't need
I'm gonna
to
need
like.
some more
I
overnight.
deeply care about this case. I don't need to pretend
I get
to
it.
know
If you
stuff that
deeply
I
care
don't
about
know.
the case, I
Yeah.
just, I have my other question is about the steakhouse receipt.
You just said that you were done asking all your
Nothing, just so
questions.
you know,
Yeah.
nothing.
Oh.
There. I don't
Yeah. Do you
need
have
to
the
do that.
steakhouse receipts? My
Sorry.
question.
I have said several times that I have never said I have the receipt for the steakhouse. I have said the person who's working on that story is going to be forthcoming with the receipt, and that was what I was responding to.
Oh yeah, apparently the steakhouse has made a statement that Tyler Robinson was never at the steakhouse and that that receipt is edited and fake. Just FYI, fact check it though. Do your own research, please. Fact check everything. Go in your favorite AI. I use Grok, and fact check. And if you don't like the answer, use a different AI.
And he then dropped the receipt. He redacted elements of it, and I said, "Stay tuned. He's the one working on that story."
Okay. So
Also-
you
never-
haven't.
Sorry, I don't know if I mentioned this. I upgraded to level 2, my base, so I'm researching all of this now. We're in the second little area, Stellaria. I forgot the name of it, but yeah.
Actually confirmed that Robinson was at that steakhouse.
All I did, as I said earlier in this conversation, was I spoke to the owner when I broke that story. I think it was back in January. I spoke to the owner, understood what had happened, and that there was a receipt. That's it. That's the extent of what I shared is what happened.
Okay. So to be clear, there's no receipt. You
No,
don't-
I just said the opposite. I said there is
well,
a receipt.
you don't have a copy of the receipt.
The receipt was published online.
Yeah, right. With blurred
The
out.
person working on this story
Yeah.
that blurred that out is what I was referring to when I said stay tuned and keep following his stuff, because he went to go do what I hadn't done, which was he interviewed the actual server.
So there's no evidence that Tyler was at that steakhouse.
I would say the receipt with his debit card number, it would be some hard evidence if that
I
is-
agree with that,
Yeah,
but-
so that's it. But you're questioning me.
But is there, as of right now,
He paid. If you're asking me, did he pay with a credit or debit card? The answer is yes.
No. Is there proof that that was actually his debit card that he paid with?
I think you should follow the person that is behind that story.
Well,
It's
the
more
reason I'm
something
asking
that-
you is because you always include it in your timeline that he traveled to the steakhouse.
Yeah, we've been building a timeline with things that we feel are
But is there any actual
Utah 1102
evidence?
approved. I think speaking to the owner, knowing that there's a receipt, seeing the receipt is good enough to put on our timeline.
But the receipt itself, the question I always had about it is, couldn't you just call the merchant? Like, if I've ever had a merchant account, I just call the merchant account processor and say, what's the name on this?
Yeah, I would stay tuned. I feel that having spoken to the owner,
Where's
that
this place
the
called?
evidence is compelling enough to
Arito.
put onto my personal timeline of what took place on that day. That's where it's going to
Arito.
stay. And if it gets debunked, I'm happy to take it off. If that's what you mean, that's how an investigation works. Like I said, I did more than enough. It would definitely pass the test by the
Smell
Utah
test?
1102 rule. For sure, for certain.
To be submitted as hearsay.
Beyond that, because they
Yeah,
didn't even
but-
have
Yeah,
receipts. They were
because
like,
hearsay
Bob
is
told me this.
admissible.
But the
not
question is,
the entire trial.
The
is
receipt
hearsay.
itself, it has not been verified to have been Tyler
Yeah, I just want to
Robinson's,
say you're
right?
holding me to a higher standard than you are.
I'm not even holding it.
in
I'm
the
just
prosecution.
asking specifically.
Yeah, I've been very forthcoming. I've told exactly what happened. I spoke to the owner. I got the tip, and
So
I
should that be
chased
added
it
in
down.
an official timeline that
It's
you
in
give?
my timeline. It's my show,
It's her
and we can
timeline.
add and subtract what we want, and we
It's a
do.
schizo
If
You
you
can
get
do what
something
you
Candace
wrong,
want, sure,
timeline,
but
but
I'm
I just wanted to
asking,
make sure.
should you include a thing that you know hasn't actually been verified to be Tyler Robinson's?
Yes, you should. If we're trying to build a timeline, you should. Yeah.
You don't think that falls
And then
under...
you should remove it if someone somehow debunks it. But I think that there is very strong evidence that is where he was, and that
What's the
is-
strong evidence? Just the two people who said that they saw him?
You know, I'm actually all good with being. I feel like
Okay.
I've sufficiently answered your question about how I got
All
the
right, fair enough.
information, what happened next, with the next stage of this investigation
she
being
squirms so
somebody
much. It's
accessing
crazy.
knowing what his debit card was and confirming it. Yes, and I do believe that will happen. If it does not happen and it gets debunked, I'll remove it from my personal timeline that I share on my show.
That officer, the first officer that was up on the roof,
Mm-hmm.
do you remember his name?
Officer Bagley.
Yeah, what was his first name?
Christopher.
Christopher. When Christopher got up on the roof, you talk a lot about how his camera died.
Well, he talked a lot about that during
Yeah,
the
about
preliminary
his camera
hearing.
died.
Yeah.
Do you think that he planted that screwdriver up there?
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
Who do you think planted it?
if we're just going on am I allowed to have an opinion?
Of course.
No.
At this stage, I would say that I don't buy his
Drone deployment
assertion on the
corps?
stand that he
Based?
didn't check to see if anybody
That's so
went
cool.
onto the rooftop before he got up there. I
have a drone.
do
That's so
think
lit.
that it's possible. It's at least plausible that the screwdriver was planted. I don't believe him. What I can say strongly is that his cam died at just the right time. His body cam died at just the right time.
Oh, interesting.
I think that, as you were just grilling
Very
me about whether or
interesting
not I
winky-dink.
got the merchant receipt for a debit card, that kind of makes difficult that we just have to sort of trust that a screwdriver was found and we don't have any should be evidence of a police body cam. But like I said, you accept that stuff and then are like, did you call the merchant and get like it just seems like you
Well, I'm not adding.
because
hold
I'm
like
not
I said,
adding
you
this
hold the
to
prosecution
It's
to
different.
the
Wait a
state
second.
to a bit a higher standard
I'm
than
not
you do to
adding
people.
unconfirmed evidence to an official timeline that I'm putting out either.
What do you mean an official timeline? This is my
Well, this
timeline.
is the-
I
yeah,
made it at
it's
home.
your
So
official
then it would
timeline.
be official
ding
to your
dong.
show.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, great. So then your official timeline, Candace Owens' official timeline,
Yeah.
includes a steakhouse stop that has not actually been confirmed at all.
Well,
Yeah.
it hasn't even been discussed by the prosecution, so it's not like you're
Interesting.
debunking
I
that
wonder
it
why.
happened.
Well, there's no evidence for it.
Yeah.
There's no good evidence for it at all. There's no camera there. And the steakhouse receipt itself has never been confirmed to be Tyler Robinson's.
I'm assuming this is just like a talking point they gave you, and you got to like keep pushing this, or like
I've been
'cause
following it very closely on X.
the receipt. You weren't even following the charges of Tyler Robinson, but you really
You
wanted
think
to know.
that
I've been
because-
following it
do you
very
think that
closely on
because-
X.
Wait, you think-
I'm calling owners of
do you know
steakhouses
that-
and having a
wait,
conversation. You're following Congo
Yeah,
on X.
I literally followed the
I'm sorry,
entire
aren't you
trial
doing the
or
same exact
preliminary
thing
live.
on
I was
X?
live with an attorney. We covered all of it. You think because I have a momentary or lapse where I'm like, oh, it's murder? No, it's aggravated murder. Come on.
You didn't know any of the
That's
charges.
splitting
you didn't. No, that's
hairs.
not splitting. It means you didn't follow the preliminary hearing at all.
No, it
He
doesn't
literally
mean that at
covered
all.
it.
Any of the
That's
charges that are
ridiculous.
against him when this is like
He did it
this is like
live.
getting literally to the crux,
Oh,
aggravated
man,
murder versus murder.
It's ridiculous.
a death sentence.
And not only that, let's point this out. One of the major things here is that this is your official timeline.
mine.
Yes.
Yes,
And it's
who else is gonna
contradictory
be?
to
Who else?
the actual timeline.
It would be Candace
What's your
Owens'
issue?
timeline.
I just don't know what his
What's your
issue is with my timeline.
What's your
Because
issue
it's
with that?
wrong.
Well, so the issue is that the entirety of the evidence revolves around two people who claim that he was there and supposedly a receipt. There's supposedly a receipt where Tyler Robinson paid for his steak and his soft drink. No alcohol, right? No alcohol, right? You know nothing about the case. But anyway, this particular receipt, they could have called the merchant account, confirmed it, this type of thing. To date, this receipt has only the blurred information on it that would actually give you the information to confirm whose receipt it is. We have to date, nobody has confirmed that this was actually Tyler Robinson's receipt, and yet
Literally.
inside of Candace Owens' timeline, which she states over and over again, when she says, this is the longest 13 hours, this is 13 and a half hours, the requirement for about, what, roughly 5.5 or 6 hours of that is that he went to the steakhouse? And so, and that's not been confirmed.
Yeah,
at
that's a
all.
huge,
Not even a
huge
little bit.
point
I feel
in
like
the
saying that I
timeline.
spoke to the owner of the steakhouse is me, like not just being on X looking at opinions, but actually doing the legwork. And that's
You
why
called some guy
like I said,
that's doing legwork?
if you think this builds up a rapport with your audience
Okay.
and makes you seem like a serious person, we don't have to keep belaboring the point here. I feel like I've demonstrated that I did as much as I could to confirm this when it came in.
You called
I spoke to
him?
the owner of the restaurant.
And what'd he say?
Obviously took down everything he said, noted that there was, in fact, a receipt that he pulled. That receipt that was published is real. A debit card
No,
and a
it's
credit
not.
card was used. If for some reason somebody misidentified something down the line, or we find out it's a different Tyler Robinson, I'm happy to remove it from my timeline. But for right now, I think that there's enough under the Utah 1102 rule for me to keep it there.
You're using it because the Utah rule says at hearsay is admissible, and you're using that for your standard of placing evidence in your timeline when the evidence is in question. You are not a serious person. Like, genuinely just not serious.
I
don't really think we need to keep going into circles about this receipt. It's my timeline.
I don't know.
Yes,
why
because
the
we're
1102
disputing the
rule would
timeline.
apply here for your
Because
timeline.
you will constantly cite things that are said in that courtroom that have less evidentiary support than me contacting and speaking with
that deserves
the owner of the restaurant. It's not like I dreamed it, as to use your expression. So it's in my timeline, and I'm going to keep it there if that's
sure. You can keep whatever you want there. I'm just saying that there's no evidence he was ever there.
There's no evidence for it.
No hard evidence anyway. Yeah, I'm fine with closing.
Okay, so the last thing we're going to do before we go into ad break, right after this will be final thoughts. I'll be
There's
asking
another
both of you
ad break? What
if
the
anything, if anything
freaking
on your
cable
opinion,
TV?
thoughts changed on the case, and then we'll finish it up from there. So with that being said, a 3.5 minute break, and then we'll come back for final thoughts.
All right.
All right, you guys, if someone followed you
Oh my
everywhere that
gosh.
you went, recorded.
Shut up. Shut up. I'm not doing this. Do I care about final thoughts?
No positive evidence that
Let's just go over it. Why not?
France is involved in anything.
Based.
No positive evidence TPUSA is involved in anything.
True.
No positive evidence that Erica Kirk is involved in anything.
True.
When I asked her about her claims about Erica Kirk, yeah, it was just funning. It's just funning, you know? Or, yeah, I do think that she needs to sit down and ask some questions, but, or answer some questions, but you know what? I don't even know if she has. Like, maybe she has. I have no idea. Yes, I'm going to have an official timeline with unconfirmed evidence. That's just fine. Hey, it's hearsay. If that's good enough for the state, it's good enough for me. But my biggest problem with the state is that they're admitting all this hearsay. It's like she's a contradiction machine.
Facts.
On top of all of this, the thing that I wanted to get out of this, more than anything else, was to just demonstrate one thing. Yes, it's true. I'm not perfect on the case. I'm not going to ever pretend that I am, and never did. But what has been made very clear to me is that there's nobody with an alternative theory that has any evidence for it at all.
Literally.
None. Zero. And the continuous
You have no evidence, positive evidence
kind of
that he's a patsy.
expression. We're running an investigation. What kind of investigation builds a timeline out on a receipt that they don't even confirm? What kind of investigation tries to make these bold claims that Israel's involved and France is involved and all these different players are involved and never shows any evidence? We're just asking questions. It's again, like I said in my opening, it's always intuition, my feelings, how I feel about things, how I think about things. Andrew, how many times did you hear this today? Andrew, you can't tell me how I'm supposed to think. Yeah, nobody's trying to tell you how to think. But you should rationally come to your conclusions based on evidence and facts. And the truth is that 90% of what you're saying is simply intuition based.
Literally.
It came to me in a dream. It's intuition. Almost none of it has any evidence at all. Just, I'm skeptical because these people over here said things, and that makes me skeptical.
Holy cow,
it's like, but no evidence. Note this to the audience, to everybody watching. You might hate my guts. That's fair enough. I get that. I'm not the most likable man. I understand that too. But there was nothing. I mean, no evidence at all that Tyler Robinson was a patsy that was ever put forward by Candace this entire debate.
Facts.
Now, maybe you could say that we stalemated when it came to whether or not Robinson did it. She says, I found the evidence convincing. Or unconvincing. Andrew says he found the evidence convincing. Okay, fair enough. Maybe you can't do too much about that. But there was nothing. She had nothing for Robinson being a patsy. Nothing for any of her conspiracies. Nada, zero, zilch, and she backed away on a bunch of them. This is the first time I think she's ever really backed away from the Twigs thing. First time I've heard her back away from the Erica thing, back away from TPUSA, being very cautious about making any of those claims now. Whereas on her show, much more likely to be making those claims. So she just had nothing the entire debate. Zero.
Facts.
Candace.
Well, I think that is quite a conclusion. Admitting somewhere, maybe we stalemated. It probably signifies what I've been saying from the beginning, that you didn't feel that you were strong on the actual facts and the evidence, which I was willing to engage with you. I wanted to go over the screwdriver. I wanted to go over the towel and the things that you've mentioned, and you wanted to then move the conversation into a defense of Erica Kirk and her character.
Because you're attacking it
about Erica,
with no evidence.
And I have not edited that opinion after discussing with you. I would like to extend a compliment to you for being willing to sit down and to have the conversation.
He's willing to sit down. Bro, he had to cough up $300K. What are you talking about? You're the one who's unwilling. Oh, I've texted me. I bet. I got you. Cool. Yeah, you're crazy. You are literally forced him to pay you $300,000 to have a conversation, bro. You're horrible. Horrible, because you can't defend your claim, so you had to get paid for it, because that's all you care about is money.
Away
for some odd
feeling
reason when your
that
husband's a
the
billionaire.
people who are jumping on the bandwagon about this case don't care about this case. They don't care about
You don't
Erica
care
Kirk.
about Charlie
It tends to be
Kirk.
follow that they
You've
take
been
a meeting
milking
with
his
Turning Point
death
USA
for money.
and they come out and suddenly have a lot of junk to say about Candace Owens. And
Yes.
I do want to also stress that Turning Point USA tried to pepper him with something as a surprise. He showed clips that were meant to be a surprise. I did no such thing. I stressed to PBD from the beginning that I was grateful he was taking this on and that I wanted this to be a clean debate because I believe I can win this on the merits, and I believe that I did win this fully on the merits by
You can feel
engaging
that
the
too.
evidence of what
Doesn't
has
matter.
happened. I do still believe that there is more evidence which supports that there are more people involved and that Tyler Robinson has been set up.
What evidence
and
do you
that none
have
of
for
the
that?
evidence that was presented was in any way overwhelming, which is why I think you wanted to move to end that discussion quickly and to speak to me about France and to talk about this Panguitch receipt and my timeline. I want to remind people that a lot of the at-home investigators, which you
Are
were open
idiots.
to, as you called them, internet sleuths. I
They're
think it was
idiots.
on a show that you did right after Charlie was assassinated that internet sleuths would solve this. This is the reason why Charlie, a year on, is still a conversation every single day trending on
It's
Twitter.
because you keep milking his
I knew
death.
Charlie. I cared about Charlie. I
No, you
care
didn't.
about finding out what the truth is here. My heart
care
is in the
about
right
money.
place. I think anybody who watches my show or even just watched this debate knows that if I get something wrong, I'll instantly correct it and own it. I'm not arrogant. I don't need to sit here and pretend that I didn't misspeak on the Lance thing. It hasn't been ruled out. But you saw that he just really wanted to hammer that point. You know, part of being a well-meaning person is to concede when you are wrong, to take something off a timeline when you know it's not right. And I would like to think that that is why I have earned the audience that continues to follow me, because
The
they know my heart's in the
schizo-crazy
right place.
people who believe
that I
anything you
deeply
say
care
without
about Charlie, and I deeply care
evidence-based.
about the answers. I want to thank Andrew's team who are providing the fact checks. It's a very small room that they're in. I want to, as always, thank my team who worked really hard to make this happen and flip this set. And to you, PBD, just for being a great moderator. I think
No,
very
he was
fair,
not.
letting us both
Respectfully,
speak and
was
making
not a
sure
great
that
moderator.
Andrew got out of this what he wanted,
Joe should have been the
which is a little
moderator,
more than
but
what I wanted.
That's why Candace
But
didn't want it.
I'm very content with how
That's
I
why
dealt
we
with
just
this,
wanted
and
to do
I
it, PBD.
I trust. I don't need to convince the audiences
hell
with the
is
magic
this
trick
thing?
of what they need to think about
Oh
this
my
debate. They
gosh.
can watch it and draw their own conclusions.
Yeah, you should draw
Beautiful.
your own
So from both
conclusions.
of you,
and fact
I think
check
the
everything that
audience
Candace
won.
Owens
And
says.
again, from the beginning, all of this is because of how much love and respect we have for Charlie Kirk.
No, it's
a great
because you
man
want
that's no longer
money.
here.
I'm sorry. This is not about Charlie Kirk, and it hasn't been for probably 7 months. Because you people, all you want is money. All right, I'm done. God bless Andrew for going and having to cough up $300,000 for this. God bless him. Go support the Crucible. And go subscribe to Andrew Wilson. Candace Owens, get help. And PDD, watch some more debates, I guess. Do better as a moderator. You're leaning too much on Candace Owens. She was doing too much this whole debate. But anyway, I'm done. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Adios. All right, I'm back.
But
Just
you're
can't
arguing
willy-nilly
things I'm not
say-
disputing.
You know, but the
I did watch some Nick Matau cover this, and basically everything Candace Owens says is wrong. So, I mean, vindicated, I guess. But yeah. Anywho, also, I'm making mega progress with Pax Autocracia. Just wanted to make this a side note.
entire substance of your argument is that
Like,
people
look at that.
can't infer
Look at
off
this
of
chat.
evidence. That's
No,
what you're saying
it's
to
not.
me. When you
Look at
say,
this.
Candace,
Here,
you
I'll
can't
give
talk
you the
about the graded
argument
prints, which
now.
is a
Takes up
fact,
six-
Yeah, I'm not
and then
saying
infer
that.
off of that
That's what
that
they're saying.
Tyler could have been a patsy.
You're
I
just
am telling
literally
you,
making stuff up.
I'm-
So
He is literally, yeah, she is literally making stuff up. Tyler Robinson, there's no possible evidence that can point to him being a patsy.
here's
I'm not
what the
making stuff
position
up.
is.
I'm
I'm
not making
asking
stuff
this.
up. I'm saying
I'm not making stuff up. I'm not making stuff up.
I am doing exactly what the state did. I am looking at a piece of evidence and I am saying.
But you're not showing me how you get there
Can you
from the
describe to
inference.
the audience what Rule
Yes.
1102
So this,
means?
just so everybody who's watching this at home understands, what
This is
I'm
the thing that Nick Matau mentioned. If you see it in the debate, she'll go.
saying, even if he doesn't, What Andrew is arguing is that I don't have the right to extrapolate from
Never
a
made that
fact.
argument.
Reasonable or reliable
making it
hearsay
up.
is for the
He's
purpose of
purely
criminal
making it up.
preliminary examination.
I'm asking based on
Andrew,
based on
can I
your
show my
inference.
evidence? You just showed yours.
Hearsay is admissible.
You'll get a chance.
Reliable hearsay in
Is
criminal
admissible.
preliminary examinations.
It's
the
admissible.
Entire preliminary hearing that you just saw was on the basis of reliable hearsay, and what that means essentially
no,
is
that's
the
not what it
people who are
says.
making the statements can just say,
That's
Patrick
literally not
told
what it
me
says.
that he did this
Okay.
on Monday. Patrick's not here, and that is they can
Also, she's wrong. Also, check this out. I got new ships. So I got like some upgraded ships. So I got more people in my little meme. Check this out. Yeah, I got like check it out. So yeah, we upgraded the spaceship station, and we got some upgraded ships. Gamers, we're lit. How do we upgrade? Oh yeah, we need more stuff. So I just wanted to point that out.
allow that into the hearing. That's just because it's just meant to be probative. And so it's the state saying, here's what we have inferred. So you are allowed to take a piece of evidence and then you are allowed to infer off of that evidence. Okay. Case in point, that's a demonstration that's a demonstration of what I just did. I said the prints were the most degraded off of Tyler Robinson. And from that, what I am inferring is that it's plausible that Tyler Robinson was set up.
That doesn't, that's the point in contention.
That's not a point in contention. That's
the point in contention.
That's the point in contention.
It is the point in contention.
It's not the point in contention. I'm telling you that was what the entire hearing allowed for. So the evidence that he is describing,
we're asking you
that he is using to argue his case is all based on inference, not fact.
Great.
Inference, not fact. So what they are inferring off of the facts.
So again, we're going to take this, and I'm just going to even grant it because it's irrelevant. I'm asking how you get to the inference that even if you dispute that piece of evidence, that means patsy. I'm looking for the logical chain for how you get to that inference.
Yes.
What I am telling you is it's the exact same way that when you tweeted, I think that this evidence is overwhelming. When they say that looks like Tyler Robinson's car, he drives a similar car. Okay, they are inferring that that's Tyler Robinson.
Can you walk me through the inference so that I understand?
It's not a fact. It's not a fact. When you show a blurry image, which you kept citing that we have images.
I'm talking about your inference that the fingerprints, even if they're degraded, equals patsy. How do you get that inference?
I didn't say equals patsy. I think it is enough evidence that it should be explored, which is exactly what this preliminary was in the inverse.
That's not in dispute. What's in dispute is when you said, I'm using this as evidence that he could have been a patsy. I'm asking, how do you get the inference to patsy from that?
Because what I am saying is that it shows that somebody else had more DNA presence on that gun than Tyler Robinson did. So it is
also
plausible.
Watching Nick Matau, this is all wrong. Tyler Robinson had overwhelmingly DNA evidence that link him to the gun, on the stock, on the barrel, on the trigger, and then on the body of the rifle. All of his DNA is there, 1 to trillion or whatever ratio. But it's literally impossible that his DNA was not overwhelmingly on the murder weapon.
Which is all they're doing. They're presenting plausibility based off of the facts, okay? It is plausible that somebody just took his gun and put it there. That's it.
Is there equally...
That's how it works.
And is there equally 100 other plausible explanations?
I think that's the reason why most people are exploring when things don't make sense.
Got it.
So yes, at the beginning of that, this is how the court process works.
So
just so we're clear,
if there's 100 other plausible explanations, then Candace, why is it that we should go with this idea that it was a patsy?
Exactly.
I'm not saying that we should go with the idea that it was a patsy. I am saying that there is.
I thought that was the whole defense, your whole claim today.
My whole claim was that there is more evidence that he is set up as a patsy.
How does that equal evidence of patsy?
Yeah, what are the evidence for him to be a patsy?
I'm saying that I am using the exact same mechanism that you are accepting for some reason in the Utah courtroom.
Explain to me that.
To say, I'm going to look at the evidence and I'm going to infer an alternative theory. So you just saw the states and you're accepting it. And they have not presented any concrete facts. You listed on your own Twitter that what you found to be convincing was something that looked like his car pulled into the driveway, a blurry image.
No, I didn't.
The standard white guy coming up the steps that could literally be anyone.
This never happened.
Can we get a fact check on that? Can we pull up his tweet where he goes over the floor?
I didn't say that's what convinced me.
When you actually didn't say it's what convinced me, but you said this is the evidence that you found to be overwhelming, and you named, I believe, actually 5 things. I think you said it was his car. You said it was.
Well, there's multitudes of things that I find.
You just said you didn't say it, so
point.
we're going to get a fact check on that. You did.
That's literally the
you
point.
Said the
that
blurry
there's
images coming up
multiple.
the steps. Quite literally, when Officer Bagley testified,
Things,
talk about when I'm talking about making
multiple,
inference. This is the most I thought was the
pieces
most
of evidence.
absurd testimony I've ever heard. And pardon me, it was actually David Hull. They asked him a question. How did you know the guy in the maroon shirt was the same as the guy that came up the stairs later that was wearing the American flag black shirt? And he said, they're wearing the same shoes.
Why is that absurd?
That's how you decided these two are the same people. Oh, wow, what a scientific. They're both wearing Converses. Okay, that's an absurd thing to say. That is not evidence that these are the same people if we're both wearing Converses.
They could be
that
the
was
same
what he said.
person, though.
That's what flew on the stand.
But I still don't understand how that would be absurd. If somebody,
it's an absurd thing.
For instance, if somebody were to change their clothes but keep the same shoes on, wouldn't you utilize the shoes to try to track that person? If
The
they were
idea
changing
that
their
on a
clothes?
college campus, 2 people wearing this totally different outfits, but both wearing Converses can't happen is such an absurdity that I don't even need to
we're
like
not
argue that.
disputing
I'm just
that.
going to let people deal. Why is it
Okay.
absurd? Just concede that point. Obviously, it's an absurd
I
thing
don't-
to say.
I'm not
I know
sure-
these are the
I'm
same
not sure
people
in
because they're
context-
both wearing Converse.
Yeah, I'm not sure if in context that's what happened, but
It
even
is.
if it
You
is,
can get a fact check on
but
it.
even if it is, again,
And it was
if
Hull.
we're utilizing inferences, whenever we're dealing with logic and we're dealing with making a logical inference, we're going to take the entire collaboration of evidence and then we're going to make inferences from that. You would do that with any type of logical proposition. Otherwise, you could never have a true or false claim.
But you just told me I couldn't.
So
do
when
that.
I never that
You
never
never
happened.
said
I'm just
that.
making stuff up.
You're
So
literally
anyway,
making
when
stuff
we're talking about logical inferences, what I'm looking for is the logical inferences that you have that Tyler Robinson's a patsy based on the totality of evidence that you have.
Yes.
We can keep going through your other evidence. We should find
Yes.
his tweet where
We're talking about-
where he lists the reasons that he was convinced.
So
I
let's
mean,
start with the 30-06. I think that's fine.
Your team's looking for. Do you remember how long ago that was?
the tweets of the 5. Did you delete it?
No,
Or no?
don't
No, I
Did you
don't
delete
delete
tweets? Okay, cool. I just look for. He said
Unless I
it was his
misspell.
car. It was his.
Same.
It was the
Literally
car,
same.
and it was definitely the staircase photos, and it was when the trial was
Okay,
going
she
on.
has it. Perfect.
She
If you,
has
get,
it.
if you got, Skylar has it. If you want to pull it up so we can see
Fantastic.
it.
Somebody said, so give me the clear evidence right here. I want you to provide it right here. All I heard from the investigator was, we believe this to be Tyler Robinson. Is belief something you go as a fact? You wrote the car pulling in. That's a totally blurry image. Robinson getting out of it. You have no idea if that's Tyler Robinson. The fact that he is seen 4 other times on camera, the fact being just a standard white boy with brown hair was seen walking up staircase. The DNA on the roof, we should discuss that. And on the screwdriver that he left behind, it's overwhelming, man.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
not an exhaustive list.
Well, just so we're clear, you did tweet it.
But it's not an exhaustive.
Yeah, but
well,
just
you
5
said
seconds ago, you should
You
concede.
said I only said this one thing and said that was overwhelming, actually.
That's not what I said.
It is. You could even pull
Patrick,
your
did
own
I say
clip.
that?
Can you fact check
Dude,
if that was
why
said
is
or not? I did
Patrick-
not hear her say
So the
this.
thing is funny here is like
I'm
we
fine.
still aren't getting to
I
any
get
of
some
these
rest here?
inferences. So
Why
these,
are you pivoting?
so
But
that-
just say
well,
you were
I'm
wrong.
not. I'm
It's cool
gonna-
to just say I was wrong. I did say it.
I'm not wrong. So
I'm not
back
wrong.
To the tweet,
Base?
the tweet aspect here. It's really
excuse
funny.
me, base
That's not an
department.
exhaustive list of why I find it.
I didn't say it was exhaustive. I just said you said it.
And on top of well, no, you didn't. You said that I only said this one thing, and then said based on that it's over. Well, I didn't. You didn't mention that I mentioned the screwdriver, DNA, all of these other things. You never mentioned any of that.
So true.
So no, you're actually incorrect
Go
there.
cook 'em,
but
Andrew.
on top of that, moving over to the actual evidence
Are you?
itself.
Are you?
Yes,
I
I'm
am okay.
Anyway, back
I
to
was
the
going to ask
evidence
if you're
itself.
okay.
Yes,
Actually,
I'm
I'm
fine.
glad you're asserting that you're
But
okay.
back-
I wasn't worried about your health. I'm just
but
saying
back
that
to
I just said you tweeted this. You said no, I didn't. We got a fact check, and now you're like just going to gaslight me and pretend that I
There's
said
no gaslighting.
It wasn't
There's no
exhaustive. I never
gaslighting.
said that. I just
You're
said
just
you did
crazy.
say this.
Zero gaslighting.
The only
I didn't say you
person who is
couldn't have said more,
gaslighting
but
is
I would like
yourself.
to
You're
address the
gaslighting
point
When
that
this
I'm
is
literally
your
not
yourself.
time, if this is how you want to spend it interrogating my position, you can do it that way.
I'm just addressing what you asserted on your Twitter was like the hard evidence that convinced you it was overwhelming. That's literally
That's
your debate
not what
claim.
you said. That's not actually, in fact, what happened in that exchange. I was here for
Why
it.
was that so funny?
So what's your position here?
Yeah, so my position is that based on all of the evidence, which has been demonstrated, at least all the evidence to my knowledge,
Holy cow.
that I am
God.
actually not seeing anything that's compelling is an alternative theory. I'm not seeing anything which is convincing me of something otherwise than what the state is presenting as evidence. That's my position. If
Okay.
that's what you're asking.
So just going back to what you did actually tweet, is it fair for me to ask questions about that?
Dude,
That's
it's always
the
fair to
only
ask
tweet
questions.
you're going to ask me about?
Well, we're addressing your claim that the evidence is
whole
overwhelming,
meme
and
is
this is
you
a
can
tweet
ask
where
me
you listed what you
questions.
felt was overwhelming. I think that's fair.
But not
right? I feel like
sure,
that's fair.
but not exhaustive. Just so you know.
And I never said it was
Okay.
exhaustive.
Go
even
ahead.
though
I think
said
you
I did.
literally
Sure,
said
whatever you
something.
want.
But yeah, so going back to that, all of that, as you say to me, well, Candace, why are you addressing and making inferences off of the testimony?
No, I never asked you why. You're making inferences. I asked you how, with the inference you made, you got to the conclusion.
Okay,
Yes.
so I would like to know how you got to the conclusion, and I'm just going to throw it right back at you, because
Yeah,
for some
that's
reason
fair.
you permit
Yeah.
yourself to do it, and that's what I'm demonstrating, is that you permit yourself to do it, and then you say, when I do it, it's a conspiracy, right?
No.
No.
How are you able to infer off of
What are you
blurry
talking
staircase
about?
images that is Tyler Robinson?
Yeah, so in that particular case, what you do is you take that evidence, you combine it with other evidence. So it's not just that Tyler Robinson is seen in the staircase.
Why are you calling him Tyler Robinson in the staircase? That's what I want to get to.
Yeah, because, I mean, we'll just use this. If you don't agree that that's Tyler Robinson, then you would just have to humor me. I think it is, so I'm using the name.
But why do you think it is? Because you make everybody, you
that's
call them
literally
conspiracy
what I'm trying
theorists.
to explain to you.
Okay.
So if you're asking for my inference why I think it's Tyler Robinson, is because Tyler Robinson said in his text messages, you'll be able to see me on security footage at the campus. Said it in his own messages. On top of that, Twigs, yes, you can pull them up if you want to fact check that. He did say. On
Yeah,
top
I would.
of
I'm
that,
sorry. I actually think I really did miss that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I
Yeah.
don't remember him saying you're going to see me in.
I'm
in footage.
paraphrasing,
Can
but
we
it was
pull that
close to
up?
it.
Yeah,
If
I
you
don't-
may
I
have
pull
it,
that up.
you
By
can
the
That's not
way,
pull it up.
Twigs himself said
did.
that
He
he
did say
had
that.
See me in
some
the staircase.
that he had some maybe a tiny bit of doubt, but it sure looked like Tyler Robinson inside of this various surveillance footage that he saw.
So Lance, sorry.
Hang
Go
on.
ahead. You're
Hang on.
right.
So there's multiple reasons why it is that I believe that that's Tyler Robinson,
That makes
not
sense.
just because of blurry footage.
Did you have a
Yeah.
dream?
Nope.
Just kidding.
No, it's because I combined multitudes
Jeez.
of
Hey,
evidence.
that was a good one.
Okay,
That was
so
good.
let's address
That was funny.
those multitude of evidences. The first one we're working on a fact check on, because I do not ever remember him tweeting. That's me in the stair. I mean, or
Well, he
texting.
didn't tweet it.
Texting
Yeah.
that's me in the staircase. I think that I
I didn't say that. I said I literally didn't. What I said is that he texted over, "You'll be able to see me in footage at UVU," and I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said.
Yeah, could we get a fact check on that?
You
The
can find
second
it.
thing you said was Lance's testimony, and actually what Lance says is, I'm not 100%.
I agree.
But in terms of what he wears, again, pointing out the absurdity, he wears Converses. He wears sneakers. If his boyfriend is not 100%, I'd like to understand why Andrew Wilson is overwhelmed by it. That's what I'm trying to get to. And lastly, I would like to remind you that Lance's statement would not be permitted. This was a huge part of the preliminary hearing, that they were leading. All the questions that were asked of him were leading, so they would be struck down at the actual trial. And also, I would like to remind you that he got use immunity for that. Use immunity.
I understand.
Which means
That happens, by the way, all the time in these
and
cases.
I'm wondering why it particularly happened for Lance in this testimony. And I would also like to point out that something that's remarkable about this, again, leaning to my perspective, that Lance has a lot more, which I have said many times, Lance has a lot more involvement than the feds are letting us know. I think more
Nobody
is going to come out
disputes that either.
because
Nope.
they
Nobody disputes that.
interviewed him
Yeah.
on September 11th, and then for whatever reason, just ahead of what was supposed to be slated as the preliminary hearing, which was initially supposed to be in May, they bring him back to do this interview, which, in my opinion, should have never been allowed. And I actually agree with the defense that it's a violation of his constitutional rights not to allow them to have cross-examined him. But I understand Utah 1102. Do what you do. It's all hearsay. But
It's not
to
all
allow it
hearsay.
in that way,
It's just
for him
admissible.
to just be able to also have use immunity, knowing that he's not going to get in trouble. He can literally get up there and lie about anything, and he's not going to get in trouble because the use immunity was given to him in April, I believe. April 28th is when they gave that testimony to the defense. I think they shot it in like April 20th of 2026. That is not compelling to me for somebody who has use immunity to give a testimony and to say, I'm not really sure, but definitely like he wears jeans and stuff.
That's not what he said.
He did. Actually, you can get a fact check on that.
Yeah, that's
Skyler,
not,
I think
he
you
said
pulled
much
it up
more
if you
than
want
that.
to. So a couple
Yeah.
things we have. We have Rule 801, Tyler's messages, that says it's not hearsay. But first, go to what Candace is asking about. Skyler, I think you have it. You just texted me if you want to pull it up. You said you have the text. If we can put that up on the screen. Thank you.
It was me. Look at the pictures from the surveillance footage. It was me. Okay. I literally said to you, it's not an oof. I said I didn't remember this, and I'm happy to have a fact check on that. Okay. I didn't call for the fact check saying you're wrong. I literally said I don't remember that from the
Well,
text
I'm just
messages.
saying to you, like,
Okay.
I'm trying to be concise for you.
And then also bring the 801 that you just said. What was the other one?
Yep, the 801. Tyler messages saying it's not hearsay.
gosh.
If you have that as well. There you go.
Wait, what are we saying is not hearsay? I thought
Statements
you said
that
the
are not
messages.
hearsay. A statement that meets the following conditions is not hearsay.
It was hearsay. They said it in the trial.
Hang on.
Okay.
Okay. Is consistent with the declarant's testimony and the declarant denies having made the statement or has forgotten, or is consistent with the declarant's testimony and is offered to rebut the express implied charge that the declarant recently fabricated or acted in recent improper influence or motive in testifying. So then, wouldn't that mean that a bunch of this wasn't hearsay?
No, so the issue with his
I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Would that mean that a bunch of this wasn't hearsay?
So the opposing party, which down the line, like I said, they talked about this for about an hour and a half, and they discussed how if Lance was in court and he was giving his first party, giving his testimony as the opposing party, whatever, all of this would be fine. They had an issue with how the questions were being asked and that they were not allowed to cross-examine him. So that is why his video testimony would not be accepted in the main trial. And what I said to you is this entire preliminary hearing is under Utah's 1102. So they are allowed to just use hearsay. And
No,
so the
you didn't
judge,
say
when
that.
he
You said most of it
it's
was hearsay,
admissible.
actually.
Yeah,
The
it was.
overwhelming majority.
Well, I mean, I'm leaning now into my opinion that some scientific aspects, which they kept asserting, like the federal rule 403 or 402, some of those parts were quite
Sounds like
scientific.
you're backtracking quite a bit.
No, I'm not backtracking at all. What do you feel like? Let me help you. Where do you feel like I'm backtracking? It literally was done under Utah's 1102.
Yeah, nobody disputed that.
Okay.
What the dispute was is whether or not most of it was overwhelmingly hearsay.
Yes,
is that the case?
it was. Yes,
Okay.
that's a fact. I'm not backtracking on
And
that at
what
all.
are the things-
How many times did you? I mean,
Yeah.
if you watch the preliminary hearing, it's like
Yeah.
they constantly. I'm 1102, 1102, 1102, 1102,
That's true.
1102, and the reason for that is because it's allowed. I'm not saying it's illegal. It's allowed at this stage, but I'm just reminding you that when you're going to sit across from someone and your claim is going to be, "Where is your hard evidence? This is what I heard, and I agree with what I'm watching." You are watching the state put on a hearsay
Yes.
preliminary
There's gonna be
hearing,
hearsay. True.
and all of those things are not going to be allowed, right? Even when they got into witness statements and things of that nature. There's a reason why they swear you in and they say, "You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth. Did you, write
things
this
are not in
statement?"
dispute.
So it's the overwhelming majority of what you saw was hearsay because other people were representing other people's statements. They were saying they had conversations. We don't know where it came from. All allowed at this stage, okay? But it's hearsay. So it
But
doesn't,
even a lot of that stuff may not fall under hearsay, under what we just read, right?
But the evidence that you're speaking about, like when you're
What's up
just
with the monkey?
when you say that we're going off vibes, you don't know Tyler Robinson.
Dang, he got gold teeth?
His boyfriend is not 100% it was him.
Fire.
So I'm going back to your points that you made that this was overwhelming evidence for you. That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, overwhelming just
You
means
can't
convincing.
consider another option that there
Well,
could have been
hang
another
on. Do you
white
agree
guy
with me
wearing
that I-
Converses on campus.
Yeah, do you agree with me that I said that what overwhelming means to me is that it's just very convincing to me?
Yeah, and I find it to be completely unconvincing.
And that's fair. I
Because
understand that
I
you
looked
can
at those
find-
blurry photos
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
that they presented and said, your statement on right now is that
Yeah.
he's wearing Converses and he also like that's just
But
crazy
these
to
aren't
me.
the evidences that I find the most convincing.
Well, you said that in your Twitter.
That's not the only thing I've ever said on my Twitter about this case.
Right, but the question that was asked of you was pretty direct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? What did you
and
find
this
to
is
be
not an exhaustive list of all the things
well,
that
that's
I
not
find
what you said
convincing.
in the tweet. You can tweet longer too. It's not like we're limited now to 240 characters anymore.
So anything that I tweet and all other tweets that I've ever made are now excluded because I used the word overwhelming in this one.
Well, they
even
wanted-
though all of this information I've said so publicly over and over and over again is what informs my position for why I'm convinced on the case. That's bizarre to me.
I feel like this is Andrew versus Andrew. Somebody asked you a question. What are the points that you find to be the most overwhelming? And you answered.
You mean from that particular day of the hearing that I was responding to?
Okay, this is something you find to be more overwhelming? Let me ask you that question.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what
do
I
you?
was saying,
Okay, go ahead.
yes.
Go on. What do you find to be more overwhelming?
Yeah.
Can we do this? Do we want to get into it, or do we want to do a quick ad break?
No
Are
ad
you
breaks.
guys good to keep going, or
I'm fine to keep going, but we can
would
also.
you like to take a quick break?
Doesn't
or
matter to me either
If
way.
we're going into a different topic, that may be another 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I don't want to stop you
Yeah,
guys in the
let's
middle of it.
end
So
it
what
on
would you
what
like
you
to
find
do?
to be more overwhelming.
Yeah. So for me, it's the confessions, the text messages, all of that is what I consider to be, from my opinion, that's the most convincing for me.
Okay, we should discuss the text message confessions when we get back, if you'd like to.
Okay.
That's a good idea. Folks, we're going to take a quick ad break. We will be back in 3.5 minutes. Thank you.
All right, you guys, for nearly 2,000 years, Christians have lived continuously in a small village just outside of Jerusalem called...
Nope. No, thank you. Where's the... Is it?
Going to be the totality of the summary of the case, okay? So right now we're focusing on one of these pillars in my defense, which is fine. I understand that I have to defend my claims as well. So when we're talking about the messages themselves, they seem totally valid. I have no idea why they wouldn't be valid. And I have not heard any good explanation for why it is that these messages should even be questioned. The defense hasn't questioned them, as far as I'm aware. Nobody has actually questioned that these messages came from Robinson to date, except perhaps you and other people who are kind of in that camp.
Dude, why did I not know
But
that?
why should I
That's
question
bonkers.
these exactly? I'm not sure.
Okay, so first let's just go over legally what the point is of a probative hearing. The defense is not putting on, they're not there to say or to argue or to defend themselves at all. They have to address what is being presented by the state, okay? So they're not here to then say, let me give you an explanation for these text messages.
Agreed.
The relevant portion of what the defense did do was actually before we got to the preliminary hearing. I had mentioned that it was initially supposed to be scheduled for some time in May. They asked for an extension. That reading through those filings of why they were requesting an extension and why I actually believe their extension should have been granted, because they did not receive discovery on their text messages. That was one of the reasons. There were many reasons why they wanted to have an extension, but this was crucial, right? So forget just the general sense that these messages feel off, and yes, you are allowed to have an intuition, you are allowed to have a sense and just go, this is very weird. We're being told this kid had like above a 4.0, Tyler Robinson. He wanted to get away. I mean, the text messages almost run head to head with themselves. Like he wanted to get away with it, so he thought the best thing to do would be to text a full confession of what he did,
Dude, he did
down
not,
to
he's
what I
never
didn't
killed
even remember
anybody
saying,
before. He doesn't know what he's
yeah,
doing.
and that's also me in the surveillance footage. It felt
Dude,
a
he's
little
a
too on the
freaking
nose. People have
Discord
common
schizo.
sense. You just don't text message. But then we're also supposed to believe that he put a note under because and burn this and get rid of the evidence. But don't worry about that because I'm about to text you a full confession. That it felt off. It felt weird off the bat. The manner in which they were texting, we're told he's like a gamer who's using a Dremel to carve expressions, catch fascist. But then suddenly he's writing like a 1700
Also, as a Helldivers
novelist.
player, he did actually get the 500K code correct.
Yeah, I'm not a gamer, so we'll say that.
Nice.
If we start debating that, you'll be way over my head.
But yes,
but my point being
yeah.
is just that, first, it's a general sense of why people had a reaction to these messages that seemed like they were written by Jane Austen rather than like a kid who games and writes catch.
Yeah, but do you see how
fascist.
that's intuition?
That is, I just said that. I said just parking aside the intuition of just something feels wrong here, which you should follow your intuition. You should actually do that. If you say the COVID vaccine is running out, feels like it's coming out too fast, and there's too many celebrities telling me to do it, I'd like to take a pause. That's good. That is, you are allowed to do that. I believe in intuition.
But hang on. Let me respond a little bit here because you've been going for a minute. Let me at least respond to a little bit of this. So the first thing is like when people bring up the COVID vaccine, not trusting the COVID vaccine en masse was the science. That wasn't just intuition. That was the science. There was tons of competing science. Now they try to suppress it. That's
Sorry.
However, as the leader of a frontier base that has only just secured its foothold, I trust you know what must...
Exactly, leader. We should consolidate our strength and build steadily before setting course for Orito. The challenges in the new sector will be even harsher. The base has prepared the Soldier Training Center for soldier tier upgrades. It can turn surplus soldiers into growth resources for elite soldiers, raising the tier and strength of the soldiers you value most. Yes, leader. Once you research the Soldier Training Center at the... Exactly, leader. The jump route to the Orito sector is now open. That region is under the control of the Satellari. Fanatical believers who cloak ruthless and depart from the base. Board the shuttle. That's thrilling. I mean...
Okay, but cool. Sorry.
true, but there was tons of competing science for why you shouldn't take a risky mRNA vaccine and masks and things like this.
Kept telling us was 100%.
Now, when you're talking about intuition, though, when you say trust your intuition, I'm actually giving a different message. you actually should be very wary about trusting just your intuition. It is true that intuition can be useful, but it has to be tempered with logic, reason, explanatory power, and evidence, not just intuition.
That's why we're parking it aside. Intuition is the first step. Something feels off, right?
Okay.
That was my first step with COVID. I don't like the way it's being pushed. It shouldn't require a celebrity campaign, by the way. Another element of that is why people don't feel good about the Charlie thing. Why do we have so many influencers saying things? It's over. Why are you guys all using the same adjective? Can you switch it up? I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed. Like, chill. Like, you could say, I found some
kind
parts
like
compelling. I think this should go.
Like
I found some parts compelling.
Like
Maybe
slop,
we
bro.
should, see at the trial. That would be kind
Don't
of.
you think Fed slop's a buzzword for the counter industry?
But everyone on the same day of watching this trial, which was, I would say, not overwhelming at all. Nobody came in medium, right? No one came in like there were some interesting aspects. This was a little suspect. But I do think it's enough to go to trial. They all came in like they were passing away and we're going to die from being
Well,
overwhelmed.
they're trusting their intuition.
Okay, well, actually, in that scenario, they're looking at the preliminary hearing and have a reaction to it. It wasn't their intuition. But like I
How
said,
do you know
parking
that?
aside, just getting to the substance, parking that aside, parking
Okay.
aside just your general intuition that sometimes might be second messages. Then we look at
What?
the
What'd
filings,
she even
which
say
came
there?
from the defense, and they were requesting an extension saying, we have gone to the prosecution and we have requested all of this stuff in discovery. Yes, you are saying that you took Lance's phone, okay, and that you collected his phone on September 11th and that you sent it off or whatever. You took a picture of the text messages and we are being given these text messages to review. Crucially, Kathy Nestor said, I have not even been given access to my client's phone during this hearing. She said, I haven't even been given access to my client's phone. She can't tell you, as a part of their discovery request, it's not enough to say to me, Candace, I just got a text message from Candace, and I say, I didn't send that text message. Maybe that's what her client's saying. We don't know because we're not at the trial, right? Maybe he didn't send those messages. Could there be someone who logged into his Discord? Could there be someone who logged in to his Apple? George could be sending text messages right now. We are married. He has every login that I have. And remember, he's up for a death sentence. So if I'm able to sow reasonable doubt with common sense, he may come during the trial and when they actually have to address these points, say, I did not write those messages. I was here. Lance, my boyfriend, was logged into my phone, logged into my Apple ID and my iCloud sending messages. I know that we have the capability because my husband does it. He has the capability to send messages from my phone.
Interesting.
It is not convincing to the public when, for whatever reason, the FBI combined with the SBI, it was not the prosecution's fault. They made that clear during that hearing, would not allow them that discovery request to be able to see where did that message come from. Because you're saying my client was here, right? I want to know if that message actually was generated from his iPhone when he was waiting to retrieve his rifle, hoping that the pooch doesn't have a bad sniffer, like just weird messages. I want to make sure that,
Dude, he's a
yes, it was
Discord
actually
user.
him.
Of
He
course
was
he's
holding
gonna
his
get weird
phone
messages.
and his boyfriend didn't just log in to his computer when he was home. Lance was his boyfriend. That is a crucial fact here. That discovery was not met by the time
why
we got to
isn't it a
preliminary
crucial
hearing.
fact that the Lance's
So
boyfriend's
I
transgender?
remain unconvinced by these text messages. Just as you feel convinced by them, I feel unconvinced by them.
Okay. So then the idea here is the reason that you don't think that these are valid text messages, and you don't, right?
It has not been proven that these messages are valid, and they don't sound valid to me. I don't think anyone, even if someone was selling like a, I don't know, pot on the corner, would be smarter than to write a full-fledged confession. He even writes, I thought I would get away with it, and I was hoping never to tell you until old age. And then we're being told that he wanted to commit suicide. And okay, but he just said he wanted to get away with it, but he's not smart enough to, I don't know, maybe not text it's such a confession like we've never seen. I think this would be like the first time ever somebody has start to finish written an entire, I'm in this surveillance footage and I'm here and I'm wearing my Converse. I'm being a little facetious here, but it was a little ridiculous. It didn't pass a sniff test for me.
You have kids, and you
do.
love them more than anything.
I do.
If it was the case that you thought that your kid was innocent, wouldn't you be out telling everybody and their brother that you thought that they were innocent? And also, wouldn't you maybe recant and say, hey, he didn't actually confess to me. He didn't actually. None of this happened the way that the state is presenting it. What would have prevented the parents from testifying?
Well, two things I can answer that, and if you watch my show, I keep telling you it's not vibes. So right after the shooting happened, Lance Twiggs, the FBI put him into a safe house they paid for. they went to the parents as well. So Matt Robinson and Amber basically said, your life's at risk. There could be somebody who jumps up and wants to avenge Charlie Kirk. And,
Why would they kill
we're
his
going to watch
parents
you.
if-
And they went into a
his
federal
parents'
safe
fault
house.
for Tyler Robinson's crazy
What
person?
happened next is that they started thinking that the feds were maybe going to, like, maybe not as honest as they thought. And
How do you know any of that?
So you gotta watch the show, right?
Yeah, no, how do you know that?
That's all she
I
wants
had a
is people
source
to
within the
watch her
Robinson
show
family.
You have a
so that she can
source.
get money.
Yeah.
An anonymous source, of course. So there's no way for us to verify that what you're saying right now is actually even true.
Yeah,
Just find it to be
trust her.
reliable hearsay.
No, I don't find it to be reliable at all. It's just a source.
I'm just doing what the
What you're doing
prosecution
is
did.
a cool story.
It's
You're
not
giving,
cool. Well,
hang
you
on,
must
hang
have
on. You're
hated
giving
watch.
us.
You must have hated
hang
watching
on,
the
you're giving
preliminary
us.
hearing.
You're giving us a cool,
Okay,
cool
but
story.
wait,
You're
is it-
saying that according to your sources, that the reason that the parents haven't recanted any of this.
Recanted what? They have no statement from the parents.
Wait, I just want to make sure that if it was the case that was being reported in mainstream media that your father came to you and said, "Hey, is this you? What's going on here?" And then he and one of his buddies took you in where you turned yourself in. You wouldn't go out and be like, "No, that's not what happened."
That isn't what happened, though. You're just wrong on this.
Okay, maybe
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing. What am I wrong
So
on?
what is your? Sorry, just so I'm clear. Where is your evidence that the parents turned him in?
Well, no. I didn't say that.
You said
I
there's the mainstream media?
I said with a sheriff friend.
Yes.
But the father did confront him,
The father confronted what?
Tyler Robinson.
And where did you learn this? That the Tyler
Well, I mean,
confronted
that's part
him?
of the official documents. Our fact checkers can pull that up.
That-
but yes.
But I'm saying,
Pull
like,
it up.
when you say official documents, do you mean you saw this on CNN or you saw this play out in the hearing?
No, this was one of the things that I went through and fact check pre-debate.
Are you talking about like the charging documents?
I think it was in the. It could have been in the charging documents, but I do. We can pull them up.
No,
and yes, are you disputing this?
Do we have that in the back to pull it up? 'Cause
I can
do know-
already tell you what you're talking about, the charging documents, because this
go
is
ahead.
where we had to figure out where this story came from, because everyone was operating under the assumption that Matt Robinson turned him in.
Okay.
Until we got to the preliminary hearing and we understood, like I said, even for that, when you are charging someone, you can use hearsay. It's all probative, right?
Sure.
Nothing. So they didn't have statements. It's not like Matt Robinson, even though he was interviewed that night. Amber Robinson was interviewed that night by a Fed, separate rooms. Tyler Robinson was interviewed by a Fed. They did not produce statements saying, my son did this. I believe my son did this. But what happened was they did interviews, but also the crucial person here who you just brought up is Mike Mitchell. Mike Mitchell is the biggest unknown in this entire case. Everyone keeps saying they heard from Mike Mitchell this, they heard from Mike Mitchell that. So when the person wrote up the report that night, and it was Brian Davis who wrote up what became the charging document, he after they transported Tyler Robinson from the Washington Sheriff's County office up to, I think it's Salt Lake City. I think it was 4 a.m. in the morning that they got up there. He then writes the what becomes a charging document. So he's basically saying, we all spoke to a bunch of people and here's the information that we got, right? We've not seen that. So it could have come from Mike Mitchell. Mike Mitchell could be saying,
I don't know how this negates the point, though. Why
it
wouldn't
truly
the
negates
parents?
the point because you don't have a statement from the parents.
Yeah, but
you are going.
Why wouldn't they just correct the
It's not
the
correcting. That doesn't
misinformation?
negate the point. The point is that we now got the preliminary hearing. If the parents were the ones who said, I'm turning my son in because he's guilty.
I didn't say they turned him in.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the over. You said it's been the narrative. Everybody's known this. The narrative initially, which I think you agree with, was that, Matt Robinson knew his kid was guilty and turned him into the police station. What actually happened in terms of Sheriff Brooksby, who was present there and gave a press conference, what happened was this Mike Mitchell character essentially peer pressured him, and we can get a fact check on this. We can find Sheriff Brooksby's press conference. And he said, they know it's you and you're going to come in peaceably or people are going to be banging down your door. He was a undercover cop, which I don't like that. I don't know what he did undercover. It's very hard to find anything about Mike Mitchell, but he worked with them for 20 plus years, the police officers. The reason why Tyler Robinson knew him was because he lived nearby and he was also his Boy Scout
How does
leader.
this negate the parents could write this second? And by the way, if you had
I'm
the
going to
evidence,
address that point. I'm just saying that your first point, which is that the parents did this.
Yeah.
We don't know that the parents.
I didn't say that they did ever. Never
Well,
happened.
you're quoting the parents as having said. You said that Matt Robinson
He's just
said
trying to
that
make the
his
point that
kid
the
was.
parents
You
are
say
being
involved.
very-
I don't want to misquote you.
confronted him about it.
Confronted him.
Yes.
And I'm telling you that we have not seen any evidence that that is true.
We can fact check that.
Okay.
Because we do have evidence. That
And I'm
that's
saying
true.
it's the charging doc, which could have been derived from a statement Mike Mitchell said.
Two things I have ready in the back. One
Cool.
is the charging doc, and
Yes.
the other one is a video of Kathy Nestor saying she hasn't seen Tyler's phone.
Okay, we can
Okay,
run
which
Kathy to
one
go
would you
back,
wanna
and
see
then
first?
just to
You
go
wanna see
backwards
Kathy
to
first?
Kathy first in court saying she didn't get her client's phone. Yeah, and then I think we'll go to the. If you're okay with that.
A thing not in dispute. These are all things that I'm not even disputing.
Okay, so we don't have to show it.
We never get to the thing that I am disputing.
Well, I was just providing an answer. We were coming back in from a break because you were talking about the text messages as something that you felt was concrete. So it was just my rebuttal to you that it's not concrete because they haven't had a chance to actually answer that. And she didn't even get to see your client's phone. So that's effectively, again, the state saying these messages are real. You don't get the discovery on these messages just yet. She will during trial. They will actually get
Don't you
discovery on the
think
messages.
that would make their case fall apart if it was the case that they weren't able to actually pull the data off the text messages? Do you think the prosecution would go to court with fabricated text messages?
It's called winners and losers. They may not be fabricated, but by the way, as what they are saying, like I said, if there was somebody logged into his phone, they may not be fabricated. That's the point.
So let's get to the
they just could be somebody else.
The parents fact check.
So I was saying, I believe what you're talking about was derived from the charging doc, which was signed off by Brian Davis.
Let's pull it up.
Let's see if that's correct. What are we looking at
Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, I'm sorry.
Can you zoom in a little bit?
Is this the charging
I
doc?
can't see it. Robinson's
yes.
father reported that when his wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter in the news, he agreed that it looked like their son. He also believed that the rifle that police suspected the shooter used matched the rifle that was given to his son as a gift. As a result, Robinson's father contacted his son and asked him to send a photo of the rifle, which makes sense with the text messages. Robinson did not respond. However, Robinson's father spoke on the phone with Robinson. Robinson implied he planned to take his own life. Robinson's parents were able to convince him to meet at their home.
Yes. So this is proving my point. This is from the charging document, correct? Yeah. So what I'm saying to you is that 3 people got interviewed on that night. Mike Mitchell got interviewed, Amber Robinson got interviewed, and Matt Robinson got interviewed. Of the 3 of them, only one of them actually wrote a statement, which was referred to in this preliminary trial. He came in, I believe, in March, Mike Mitchell, and he wrote a statement, which I find to be very shady that they decided to bring.
But why aren't the parents disputing that?
No. Well, first off,
that's the question
First
I've
off,
been
the
asking.
parents are not going to ever play in court. Play to the cameras in court when they have a legal team that is going to be advising them not to speak to the court because your son could go to prison
But
forever.
they're playing to somebody else who's your source?
I'm not going to address
Wouldn't you
that.
just say
They're playing to
I don't-
someone
I-
else
I don't
who's your
think- I don't
source
think
but
it's-
won't go publicly tell the media
Yes.
this is not true?
Well, what I did not say to you that I just said
So you
I
can
have
say
a source,
fake.
so I want to be very clear and take it from somebody who is involved and permanently sued. When I have to take my lawyer's advice, I mean, there's so many things that I want to respond to when people are speaking about.
Yeah, but it's bizarre that they would utilize a source which would get the information to you, but wouldn't just go to the media and be like, actually, that's all wrong.
Yeah, literally.
I am telling you that you would nary find a lawyer who would advise you to go to the media. And speak.
This mother,
especially when your son
if
is
I
up
thought
for,
that my
is-
kid
was up for death.
If I thought that my kid was in any way, shape, or form going to be up, you couldn't shut me up. Or my wife, she would be like, that's not true. That's ridiculous. There's no possible. That never happened. These people are lying through their teeth. They'd be public whether you like it or not.
Yeah, that's for you and your wife. But when a judge issues a gag order in a case and your son is up for death, and your lawyers could be advising you that if you say anything, you could blow the case, you would have a more responsible consideration.
I see.
And we're speaking opinion here. You're like, well, I wouldn't care. I'd violate it, and I'd violate the judge's orders and see what would happen.
If you have a source, it seems like they're violating it with them.
I'm not speaking to a source, but what I am saying to you is speaking just relevant to what this is. We have not seen any proof that statement that is included in this charging document. I think it is highly likely on the basis of the preliminary hearing that all came from Mike Mitchell. And Mike Mitchell would be a part. He's
Based
saying,
on the statements of the
it's
parents.
him saying, the parents told me this. The parents could dispute that. That's going to come down the line, right? They're going to be able to seat the parents. I will say this, putting together context clues, if the state had it on, 100% certainty that Matt Robinson and Amber Robinson said it, a 5-day preliminary hearing would be a good time to say we have enough evidence, and I can tell you why. Matt Robinson made this statement, and here is his statement that he signed. That would have been a good time to present that evidence.
That
and
would
get the
also
public
be a
on your
good
side.
time for the defense to say that's just totally
No,
fabricated.
it's not. It's the wrong time.
Why couldn't they?
That is completely the wrong time.
Why couldn't they?
Because what they're doing is they already said they didn't receive discovery. They literally can't. They literally can't because they can't. They did not
You're
receive
saying that
discovery.
they didn't receive that information?
No, they just received the text messages. But in order to
That's not the text messages.
the probative information.
Yeah, we're talking about the information that we just reviewed. That's not the text messages.
They never presented it. The state never put it on.
Yeah, they didn't. The defense could easily still have presented this. Yeah.
No.
They could have said they're
no.
No, they're not allowed to. Are you sure?
In a preliminary hearing,
yeah.
the defense is engaging with whatever evidence the state decides to put on. They did not put this on as evidence. Brian Davis was up there.
So they're not allowed to present anything?
They're responding to the state's evidence.
I'm asking, are they allowed to present anything?
They are allowed to say...
Like if there was a conspiracy that they could prove right then and there, would they present that in one of these hearings?
No, it wouldn't be the right time for that.
I disagree. I think
it's
that
not disagreement.
I think that they not only
it?
could do it, but they would do it. In fact, when I talked in depth with my attorney, they said that's exactly, if you had actual evidence that there was fabrications by the feds, that's exactly when you would introduce that.
Yeah,
so when in
so
the document that they filed yesterday or a couple of days ago, the appropriate, like what you're doing at this stage of the hearing is the state is saying we have enough evidence that we think this needs to go forth with a trial. Hence the reason that there's this extraordinary, we allow hearsay because it doesn't really need to be perfect. It can be enough that we feel like we can move forward, right?
The judge just needs evidence.
And okay, I disagree with that in general when somebody's rotting in prison, but whatever. The next phase is for them to meet in court and for the defense to essentially present an argument to the state that says, we find this filing to be defective in and of itself. We don't even have to defend ourselves because you, the state, have enough, you know what the laws are on the books, and this filing is defective and you should get rid of these charges because they don't make sense based on what you can decide based on a law on the books. So then that's why they then file the dismissal, right? So in the dismissal, what they're doing is they are engaging, and this is what was widely misinterpreted.
Well, yeah, they're engaging as though as it's a hypothetical. If this is hypothetically true, then
so
X.
they're saying all of these charges.
I'm not disputing any of that.
So that's what you're asking. Why you're saying could they just put
what I'm
on?
asking specifically is like who could shut parents up who are like, no way, there's no possible, this never happened, this is ridiculous. They would be shouting it on CNN. They would be shouting it from the rooftops. They would be losing their minds. And you're like, nope, the gag order would be enough to keep them quiet. Not enough for them to talk to your source, but enough to keep them quiet. I think that that's quite ridiculous. But I'll even concede this whole point to you. Let's just say maybe this was misconstrued, right? There's a little bit of reason to doubt it because we're still waiting for the evidence for trial. If that's the case, then why not take the same standard for the evidence that you present? You're just waiting for trial.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't do that.
Wait
That's
a
the reason
second.
we're here.
Wait a second. I just want to make sure that I got this right. That's your argument to me, right?
My argument to you is what?
Your argument to me is that, hey, wait a second, Andrew. There's not enough here that convinces me, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's actually my rebuttal to you, is that you are saying, why are people engaging in what you term to be conspiracy theories?
No.
I term it to be thinking. They're just thinking because they're recognizing there are a lot of holes in these stories and that this is not strong evidence, right?
The conspiracy
This is the reason they're doing it. I'm explaining to you this is the reason that they're doing it. I'm addressing what you view to be overwhelming evidence. And by the way, I want to be clear.
That which convinces me.
Yeah, well, but thus far, every point that you've brought up, every point that you've brought up, did you feel like this is beyond a reasonable doubt? I mean, you realize
remember what I said in my opening.
Going to be.
It's not beyond a reasonable doubt. It's just what I find convincing is what I find overwhelming.
So why are you so upset when people say they don't find it convincing?
If that was the limitation of the claims that you made, if it was just, wait a second, there's a little bit of problems. There's some problems in this case that I have questions for that I want answers to. Nobody'd have a problem, actually.
Exactly.
At least of all me. I would be the least likely person to have an issue with you, any of your fans, anybody saying. In fact, I've had tons of Discord calls about this. My position's always been clear. Of course, conspiracies exist. Some of them have way better evidence than others. But I've seen them myself. I know conspiracy. In fact, the federal government has hundreds of thousands of laws about conspiracies. They see them everywhere.
Yeah.
We both know this, right? That's never what the problem is. The problem is when you make claims outside of, well, wait a second. I'm just questioning evidence here. I'm just questioning what the state's case is here. I'm just asking questions. It's when you make claims outside of that, where you claim that there's good evidence or good standards you should believe because, and then it turns out that it's all nonsense or it's wackadoo stuff or it makes no sense.
Exactly.
And when we have a chance to cross-examine your evidence that you've presented, I'm going to show a lot of that. A lot of this conjecture that's based on literally nothing, that leads from no inferences
nothing.
whatsoever. Like, you couldn't even infer it logically.
So funny.
That's the problem. The problem has never been whether or not you just said, you know, there's not enough in this case so far until we get to the trial. I remain unconvinced. I'm sure there's tons of people who remain unconvinced yet until we get to the trial. I think that's fine. I think it's fine there's people who are convinced too. That's never been my problem. My problem is the claims which are external to that.
Okay. I'm not sure I really care if you have a problem with what I think in my own spare time. I don't understand this like lecture that you just gave. But beyond that, what I'm saying is that the state is allowed to use.
I didn't
this is what
lecture
my this is what my problem is. You guys are not allowed. Yeah, you guys think while it's still legal. You can. You are allowed to do that. So, but anyway, going back to you saying I wouldn't have a problem. I think I just demonstrated pretty thoroughly that what you claim that you have a problem with is exactly what the state is engaged in at this stage. So it just doesn't make sense.
That's not the case. In fact,
so if people look and they say, I'm looking at the gun and I see and I'm inferring this, and someone else says, I'm looking at the gun evidence and I'm inferring that, they're both doing the exact same thing.
They're not.
You're just saying, I want to do it for the state.
That's propositionally false.
That is not propositionally false.
I'll explain exactly how. It is the case that every proposition is going to have a true or false conclusion, period. That's just logic, right? It's the law of excluded middle. All propositions are going to be true or they're going to be false. When we get into when we're making inferences based on propositions. We can actually come to true conclusions with false premises inside of a proposition, in fact. What we're talking about here is not whether or not you feel that you're convinced by this evidence.
But you felt like you were convinced.
Right? Sure. But here's the thing. When you ask me my reason, Andrew, why are you convinced by this? I can give you my reasons why I'm convinced by it, why it seems reasonable and rational to me to be convinced. You could even say, but Andrew, I'm just not convinced by it. If that was the limitation of your claims, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. That's why I wanted to have the conversation, in fact, was so that we could move into your actual claims that you've made, which transcend the idea of, I'm just asking questions.
Before we get into that, your team has one thing they want to show before you go into that. So if you want to pull that up, this is the prosecution filing showing defense had full discovery by April 1st.
Oof.
They did not. That's not true.
Wait a second.
I died?
To date, the state's prosecutors have disclosed all evidence that is presently and reasonably available to them as required under Rule 16 Utah R Criminal, to be more precise, as of April 1st.
Yeah, that was not 100%. That's why they're caging that by saying what's reasonable. There was an entire, and we can pull this up, like we should now play the Kathy Nestor clip because that's from there. So, and they were basically saying you don't need it at this stage, meaning it's not reasonable that you're asking for this when we're going into a hearing that's just going to be based on hearsay and stuff, things of that nature. But of course, by the time a trial comes, you're going to get all the discovery documents.
Where it's just show cause.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what they're saying there.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, so that's
I'm even fine with it.
Yeah, we all know. And then, by the way, just now that the hearing is over, and you can also fact check this, they now at the end of the preliminary hearing dropped like an insane amount of the discovery stuff they gave to them like the week after. You guys can give me the exact amount. I don't want to say because I don't know my I don't remember how much it was. It was an absurd amount of stuff that they gave to them right after the preliminary hearing that they had been asking for. Because that was one of the things that I kept saying on my show is as we were watching that preliminary of the preliminary, why not just give them the stuff now so they can engage in these arguments? Because I feel like you, it's like, I want to hear what they have to say about the text messages. Why can't you just give them what they're asking for so that they can actually engage you? And it didn't happen. So, but the judge ruled that it wasn't necessary at this stage. And that was the whole point of that
because it's
preliminary to the preliminary. Yeah.
Would you like to play the Kathy video?
Well, he's saying he's not disagreeing, so I don't think we need
There's
to.
no point here.
There's no
Okay.
disagreement
All right,
that she said that.
Yeah.
So so I guess the disagreements now would move into the evidences that you have stated on the record, which transcend elements of reason.
Why are we having
a
transcendental conversation now? Because I mean,
because they're all related to this
your
case.
entire thing was about looking at the evidence, which never made sense to me, again, because all of the evidence that you felt to be overwhelming was hearsay. That was bizarre to me.
You told me that I could take as much time as I
No,
wanted
you
to
can.
question you on
No,
these
but
things.
I'm just asking you just to lay the groundwork of what you're saying is
Because you've
problematic,
made
that
many,
you
many
decide that it trips
claims.
into
I'll
something
explain.
else. And I do still want to hold you for going through, because we've discussed the gun, we've discussed your...
And you can hold me to those things, but I would like to get into the
and
things
we
that
should
you've
discuss
said.
the screwdriver as
So,
well.
and I'll explain exactly what the groundwork is. When you make claims which pass the idea of I'm just asking questions because the state's evidence is not convincing, I think you have to answer for those claims because they are in regards to this case.
Yes.
You're saying, I have a claim. It is in regards to the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which is what we're talking about. Not just the case of Charlie Kirk, his assassination. You should have to answer for the claims that you've made in regards to the assassination itself.
Yes.
You should. Yeah, agreed. So if that's the case, then I would like to finally dive into some of that evidence and dive into it.
Well, just to be clear, and I'm happy to have you talk about, like I said publicly, you want to engage in some conspiracies, but I said I want to make sure that we get to the substance of our debate. The substance of our
This is
debate
this is the major
is me
substance.
demonstrating that all of the quote unquote evidence that you feel that you have, which demonstrates that Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk.
You don't find convincing. I get it.
It's been invalidated by the testimony that we saw, and in your answer for when I
you haven't
explained to you that he had
invalidated
the
it.
most degraded prints
What
was I don't know.
invalidated
Okay, well there lies my ability to process that.
It's just fine for you.
She's still operating off the false premise that he has the most degraded DNA on the weapon, and that's not true.
Okay.
To not be convinced up to this point, all of your viewers, everybody watching, nobody's
you're conceding
Nobody's giving
on
a
that.
dispute that if all your claims ever were just up to now, the evidence that the state's given, I'm just kind of not convinced. That is not what's been happening. What's actually been happening is that you've made tons of claims in regards to this case and in regards to the Kirk assassination, which are far above and beyond, I just doubt, the state's theory.
Okay, yeah, I mean, sure.
those are
I
the
do
things
doubt. I
that
do doubt the state's theory. I also am
I get
welcome
it.
to say what I think. If you want to move into opinions, if you want to talk about Erica Kirk, if you want to talk about Turning Point USA,
I'd like to talk about all
and
of
get
it.
into it, I'm
Yeah.
totally happy to do that. But I just want to say that, I do not feel, because I've said what's important to me is that we exhaust this topic first of our actual debate claims. I do not feel that you sufficiently have argued that the evidence is overwhelming.
Sorry.
Candace, question for you.
That
What,
Tyler
sorry you
I
feel
am
that way.
sorry you feel that way.
Candace, one question. What evidence do you need to see for you to say Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk?
That's a great question. So I actually expected in this preliminary hearing, actually, the inverse of what he was saying is true, right? So this is now the time the state is putting on their evidence. That's the purpose of this hearing, right? The state is using hearsay, but they're also putting on their evidence. So I was just expecting some sort of a slam dunk. Like, we got him on camera taking the shot. At least we have him clear on camera. You're telling me this guy drove 13 hours all around. Like, we can definitely show you a picture that it's going to be beyond a reasonable doubt. Before we even get to the trial, people are going to see and go, oh crap, like it was really Tyler Robinson. I was expecting to at least see evidence that, because I had reported early on that
Don't they have videos?
the
of him?
source was saying that Tyler did not step foot on campus that day. It is my perspective that he had something to do with something. I do believe he was putting
had something to do with
disposing
something.
clothes at this stage, at this phase. I do believe he was disposing clothes. He was involved somehow. I find Lance to be more suspicious, if I'm being honest with you. And also, like I said, the use immunity that was given to Lance by the feds, the fact that the feds didn't ask him any questions, the fact that I spoke with Lance Twiggs' family, and they were like, it's very weird that the feds are not asking him more questions. He's exactly the person that I would imagine to be involved in some stuff. Allegedly, I'll say allegedly.
Yeah.
But
Good job, allegedly.
when we got to the preliminary hearing, there was not a single piece of evidence that I felt was slam dunk. I was waiting for that, a photo. I mean, anything would have made me go, all right, I think this could be the guy. If they had handed over the discovery on the text messages, since that was their big ta-da, we've got the text messages, that would be the first thing that I would hand over. But actually, who was holding them up? Like I said, it wasn't the prosecution. They're right to say we were handing things over, and we heard the defense argue on behalf of the prosecution, saying it's not them and it's not the SBI, it's the FBI that's holding on to things. Is the FBI took everything. The FBI took the gun. The FBI took initially the screwdriver. And then when I heard testimony about the things that they found that were suspicious, example being the backpack, that's something that really bothers me. That they say they traced the shooter, they traced the route that he went on, and then there was an abandoned. We know it looks like he's wearing some sort of a backpack. We know that there was an abandoned backpack found at the bus stop in front of a library, and they felt that this should be taken into evidence. They took it. The FBI, this was the testimony of Amanda Baker, I believe her last name is, but you might want to fact check that because I think I'm blending last names. She was the forensics for the FBI. And then she says she gets a call on the 13th and they stop testing on this backpack because they find that the backpack actually belongs to somebody on Charlie's team. But if you know the map of the layout of the campus, you're going, well, what the hell are they doing all the way up? This is nowhere near anywhere. And by the way, that's not an acceptable answer for why you just gave it back. That's like, why would you give it back? You're acting like no one's ever been killed by somebody on their team before, right? So I found that to be very strange that it was on the exact route that the alleged gunman ran, and that their excuse was we just gave it back because we heard that this belonged to somebody on Charlie's team. So that to me is this is why the investigation itself feels underwhelming. When you learn, and this is completely crazy to me, that some of the artifacts that Charlie was wearing were immediately returned to Erica. That's absurd. That is absurd. Everything should be in evidence. When you learn that the car that they carried Charlie in to go to the hospital, they had immediately towed, cleaned, and back up for resale. That's absurd.
Wrong.
That should be sitting in evidence. And any police officer that you speak to will say, or a person that's been involved in a crime will say, I didn't get my stuff back for years. Had nothing to do with anything. It was just around. And they kept it into evidence until the trial was over and it has to be approved. I think somebody said by the Attorney General has to sign off on giving you those objects back. And we were told this is all fine. And we see, this is just one example, Erica holding the crucifix. That should be in evidence.
Why?
Irrespective of if you feel bad for her and think she should have it and it's sweet, that should be in evidence.
Why? What evidence?
Immediately paving over the crime scene.
Does it?
This is like the craziest thing ever. This is like defies common sense. You immediately, and when you heard the guy who did it actually go up on a podcast and explain, I got the call. They said it was a paver emergency. I've never in my entire career heard of a paver emergency.
Is that true?
They had already had someone come up and dig up the dirt. So by the time he got there on Sunday, the dirt had already been dug up for him to lay down pavers. That is what people are looking at and going, this is weird. There needs to be answers for why this was done. And he tells us the call came from the feds and the governor's office. UVUs washed their hands of it. And what he's saying sounds true because we heard during the testimony, one person described the regions of who was in control of everything. The feds were in control of the courtyard. So in order for anybody to have paved anything, that was federal territory, so to speak. I'm maybe not using that in the best cop term, but the feds were in control of the courtyard. So these are things that I think should be answered for. Why are we doing things differently than you would in any other criminal scenario of keeping the evidence until we know more, until we're confident?
It's the most,
the various decoys. I did it. It just doesn't look right.
I don't understand what you're talking about.
Okay, so go back to the question. So what would you need to see for you to say?
Something, if they had, I was expecting, here we have him, he took the shot, here it is. And then I'd be like, great, a clear image of him on the staircase where I'm like, that's definitively Tyler Robinson and he was on campus. We got nothing. We got literally nothing but hearsay of people saying.
But you basically get no case.
What?
You basically no case on planet Earth. You get the, oh, we got a picture.
Okay,
Here's him with the murder weapon.
Right.
Here's him taking the shot.
Most of this doesn't take place on a college campus that has surveillance everywhere.
Yeah,
one clear image of his.
But I don't understand when you're
his
asked
car plates.
If you're asked the question, what would it take to convince? It'd be the same question be asked to me, Andrew. What would take to convince you that
Israel
the oppositional, right, that he's a patsy or something like that? Just good, clear, concise evidence that's been presented, right, and is being presented that I could go through and link all together to see if there's actually some clear picture of there being a patsy. That's what it would take for me.
There's no evidence for me.
Just a good
evidentiary standard, and then of course I would change my mind.
So just to qualify this, so There is a possibility in the next few months that you may come out and say, guys, it's done. Tyler killed him. So you're saying yes to that.
Yeah.
I think
No
it's very
shot.
important for the audience
I don't
to
believe
for
that
you.
Without
for a
question.
second.
For you, is there anything that you could see for you to say, yeah, this guy was a patsy, the
Of
government
course,
was involved?
I'm going to always
Okay.
follow evidence.
Perfect.
So my whole thing is just this. It's really important to me. I
Dude,
don't mind
hasn't
people
Candace
being
Owens said,
truth
she's like,
seekers
"Oh, I will-
and justice
I'll never
searchers,
believe Tyler
and
Robinson killed
the internet
Charlie
has
Kirk.
helped solve tons of crimes. There's no ifs,
Like
ands, or
what?
buts about that, right? However,
girls.
there's also people
Allegedly.
who, you know,
In a video game.
they not only don't solve crimes, but they just come up with conjecture and they what's called flooding the zone. You flood the zone with tons and tons
Nonsense.
of conspiracy-based ideas, and they go nowhere, right? And in fact, they actually take away from legitimate investigation. Now, I'm not even saying anybody here is purposely flooding the zone. That's not even the claim. All I'm saying is that the claims made absent, this is just me not being convinced by the state's evidence. Those become claims, and claims have to be
What are these?
defended. Just like mine have to be defended, yours have
These
to be
like
defended.
double crossbow things?
And that's what we're going to get to now, yeah?
You want to get into it?
Oh my gosh, I'm
Would you
tired.
guys like to take an ad break
We'll take
before
an
we
ad
come
break.
back?
Take an ad
break.
And then we'll talk Erica
just-
Kirk and TPUSA.
And the conspiracies that have been conjectured by Candace Owens in regards to this case in the Charlie Kirk
Perfect.
assassination.
Folks, we'll take a 3.5 minute
They
break,
are. They're
and
like
we'll be
double
back soon.
crossbows. That's kind of fire.
All right, you guys, you have probably
No,
seen
no, no,
all
no,
the
no,
buzz.
no, no, no. Nope. Nope.
Okay, beautiful. You take the lead. Go for it.
Boom.
Yeah, so I have a bunch of questions for you, and I want to make it super painless, right? So
Phantom reloads.
no traps, no gotchas. I'm just going to ask them direct, and I think that as long as they're not loaded, if they're loaded, you should not respond yes or no. But as long as they're not loaded, if
I'm
I
not
just
gonna
directly
use this
ask them,
expedition to find
I'm
the
hoping that
boss.
you'll just
I'm
give me a
gonna use it to
direct
mine a bunch of
answer.
stuff.
So here's the questions that I have.
Wait, before we get into that, I would like to just reply to that. So just to be clear, we agreed to debate our claims, and then I agreed publicly that I have no issues having a conversation with you about
Yeah, only if you get paid $300,000 for it, though.
other things that I've discussed that were outside of the court hearing and things like other evidence that's come across our lap and things that we've been speaking about. But I just do want to make it clear to viewers that
Oh my gosh. These things
for
are
whatever
awesome.
reason you think that you have a right to sort of depose me.
I'm not deposing you. I just want
They're
to
literally
ask you
having a
questions.
debate.
you
You're going back and
literally
forth.
said that I want to be able to
Well,
question
this is
you.
a meta conversation.
Right,
We're having a
but
meta
okay, so
debate.
now we're transcending. Like let's use a
I mean,
word
there's no-
to
there's
use a
no-
word
nothing
that you're saying.
transcendent.
But
Nothing
this
is
this is what you're
transcendent.
doing, right? So
Okay.
this part
What are
to
you
me
talking
feels
about?
like a
So
bit
am
of
I
a.
allowed to ask the questions?
I've already said you can ask questions,
Then
but I
let me
made it
ask
very
them.
clear to you
Yeah.
via email and with you in conversation
Mm-hmm.
that we should be speaking. This
Yeah, I
isn't
know,
like
but
you
I
get to
wanna-
sit.
I wanna
if
ask
said
you
if you
some
want to
questions.
depose me, you should join
I'm not
Brigitte
deposing
Macron's
you.
defense team.
This
But
is
you're
part-
like, I'm
this
just
is
going
a
to ask questions.
legitimate
Can you
part-
answer it? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what you're going to ask, and
I
I'm
know.
going to
And
answer
if
as
you
I
have
see
issues
fit
with it,
because I'm not.
I get it.
Yeah,
I
okay,
get it.
just so we're clear, 'cause-
Usually in the
get it. It's
debate,
hard.
if
Answering
something's not
questions
loaded,
is
I'm
really,
just
really
direct.
hard.
with
Because
the
you kept
question,
saying
with
I'm
the
Joe
answer.
Rogan. They have no evidence. They have no evidence. And now you're like, let's move away from the evidence.
You
Let's talk about
actually,
transcendental.
Yeah, it's not moving anywhere away
Anyway,
from the evidence.
so
It's
direct
just moving towards your
question, super
claims.
easy. Was Lance Twiggs DNA in the rifle, as far as you know?
We can't say that for certainty.
As far as you know.
I already answered
can
that in the
just
first
say
part. We
you
can't
don't
say that
know.
for certainty. I told you the context of which they
Isn't
spoke
she the
about
one who
those
was
things.
So
How
no,
are you gonna say you
as
don't
far as
know?
you know.
We can't
can
say
just say
that
you
for
don't know.
certainty until we know what other the 5 sets of prints were on
So that
there.
would be no as far as you know.
We can't say that for certainty.
You can say no as far as I know for certain.
We can't say that for certainty. I
You
I
can
have
say
to,
that
you
for
know,
certainty.
if your energy
You
here
can-
is going to be like you're my dad and you
Energy?
can tell me how to speak or what I'm supposed to say, you're just going to come up against the wall. I'm
Okay,
familiar with
but-
this debate strategy.
but I
like,
am just
yes or no,
telling
yes or
you.
no, yes or no. We're not debating anymore. We're having a conversation. So I already addressed that in the
What
first
are
half
you
of this
talking
about why.
No, we're still
there's-
definitely debating.
No,
This is
literally,
still
it's just a
it-
debate.
This is,
it-
no, it's not a debate.
This is
Now
inclined
this
to
is
your,
you saying I want to probe
Yeah.
things that sit outside of the
That's
evidence.
what a
I
debate
actually
is.
already
That you've
addressed this.
stated.
You asked me.
Uh-huh.
You're not going to go like you're
Okay.
sitting and I'm on trial. I'm not on trial.
Okay, great.
So
let's
you
talk
can
about
have a
the
conversation
let's
as
talk
we've
about the
agreed
French.
to.
Can I
Let's
have
talk
this?
about
I want
the
this
Foreign
person.
Legion.
Sure.
Was the Foreign Legion, do you believe, trying to kill you?
Yes, that's why I reported it to the correct
Whatever this
officials
thing
in
is, I want
government.
it.
That's what I was told, and I handed over that information to Tulsi Gabbard's office.
What's your best piece of evidence for that?
Give me.
Well, it was
Positive evidence.
It was told to me
Mm-hmm.
by somebody who is high up in the French government I passed off that information to Tulsi Gabbard's office. I also passed it off to Trump's office, Donald Trump's office. And that's all I can tell you. I wouldn't be able to probe any evidence because I don't have the power to do that. I'm not the federal government. And I would also like to say that this becomes this other piece of what you do, which is when people say, I was told this, and this is the evidence that I have, and I'm willing to have that conversation and write the email to the correct government body that deals with this. Like, I can't hack into Emmanuel Macron's bank account and say whether or not the information
I agree.
but then you go, well, where's your evidence? It's like, well, my evidence is that I reported it. I did the right thing that you're going to do. So if somebody calls and says, hey, Andrew, there's a viable death threat against you, and that person definitively has the rank to be able to tell you this, and you say, well, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to report that to the feds, and then I go, what's your evidence? It's like, well, I got the information, and I gave the information that I got from who I got it to the right body of people. And that's what I did.
Got it. I just want to make sure.
So
I'm not trying to trap you. I just want to make sure I got it clear.
And that's why I say I want to know what you're doing now, because this has always been the thing. It's like, we actually can't win on the overwhelming claim. So we're just going to go and bring up everything that I think can try to embarrass her. I reported exactly as I received it. I'm not trying to embarrass
you. I just want to make sure that I get your positions clear.
I have not said, yeah, go ahead.
Now, you have stated multiple times that you believe that Israel's involved in the death of Charlie Kirk.
Can you give me...
Yes, we can pull up the clip. Sorry, I'm just saying.
Can I finish the sentence?
Go ahead.
Can you give me the context for what are you talking about? Like, when I say, generally speaking, why people think that Israel's involved?
No, you think they are.
Where's your question?
Yeah. Do you have any positive evidence whatsoever that Israel killed Charlie Kirk?
Well, I couldn't say Israel was on the ground and shot and killed Charlie Kirk. I would say that there are various things that we're trying to establish, one being a motive. And since I don't believe that Tyler Robinson and his transferee is a convincing motive, because he was fired up about politics, which Lance testified that he never spoke about with him, nor do I believe that he was, so into LGBTQ issues, since Lance testified they never spoke about LGBTQ issues, that he stopped and ate at Chick-fil-A, which, if you are into LGBTQ issues, wouldn't be your lunch before you go kill Charlie Kirk for
Just because just because you're pro LGBTQ doesn't mean you don't enjoy a number one with a frosted lemonade. What?
LGBTQ issues, because
but do you have positive evidence?
I'm answering the question as I feel like I want to answer it. Like I said, you don't get to for an hour and a half.
But the question I'm asking is about positive evidence.
I'm telling you that in any case, establishing a motive, and again, I already explained this at the top of the show, but the reason why people find Israel to be an interesting question is because, truthfully, Charlie's perspectives were changing on Israel.
Sure.
And he was starting to realize how much pressure was being put on not just our government to constantly fight their wars, but also being put on his organization personally. If people had come out and been honest about that, rather than rabid claiming he never flinched and everybody's lying and this is not true, you would probably have people that just go, that's life. People change their opinions.
I understand.
And then there was the rabid, not even that. It's like everything was about trying to convince the public how much he liked it.
So then, other than intuition, how you feel about things, do you have any evidence Israel was involved in killing Charlie Kirk?
I have already said, and if you're watching my show and the context of what I said, this is the general sense of why people think Israel's involved. Nobody has made the claim that Israelis, there were also, obviously
Ian
Joe
Carroll
Kent.
made the claim.
Well, Joe Kent, who I think would have the right to assert it, noted that there were 12 Israeli cell phones on the ground that day. I think most people would like to probe that. Now, it could be maybe they were students, and they were Israeli students in Utah that day.
There was probably 12 Israeli cell phones there because Charlie Kirk was pro-Israel. So pro-Israel or Israelis are going to watch him and attend his events because they loved him because he was pro-Israel.
But we'd like to probe that narrative because what we've seen after, coming from the Israeli government, the Israeli prime minister, kind of denying that he did it, which wasn't really necessary. Was quite busy.
It was because all you people are
the phone call
crazy.
That happened, which no one wants to discuss, in the Hamptons the week prior.
Nothing happened in the Hamptons.
Or not the week prior. I think it was around August 5th or 6th that took place.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the almost desperate lies about Charlie shifting opinion on Israel lead us to believe that there could be an Israeli angle in this.
What is
but
the
we
Israeli
cannot
angle?
say for
Their
certainty
top guy just gets
that Israel
killed
called
and
the shots,
happy?
and this is how it happened. But it is definitively, I think, a thread that a lot of us would like to
So
see.
they always need more pro-Israel people.
Whatever you want to say, however positive, negative, however you want to say it.
Well,
I don't
positive
need to. I
evidence
can just
would
have
be
a conversation.
material evidence and other evidences which would
what we've
point you
said
to
is on our show is what we said, which is this feels like a conspiracy building. There's no reason to lie about these things, and yet people are lying. BB ain't acting right. The Hamptons
ain't
thing was
acting
weird, and the way they tried to shove the Israel narrative down our throat immediately. I mean, the day he died, posting a picture of him with an American and Israeli AI'd photo on the president's feed doesn't feel right. So.
Do you have any evidence that Erica Kirk or TPUSA participated in the murder of Charlie Kirk?
I've never said they participated in the murder of Charlie Kirk, so how could I say that I have evidence they participated in the murder of Charlie Kirk?
Can we get a fact check?
So then you don't believe that they did?
I never have said that statement, so I'm not going to get you to ask me personal questions about things that I've never said on record.
Okay, fair.
Your team is sending messages in the back saying they have a video they want to play.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't know what the video is.
It's probably her saying Israel killed Charlie Kirk. Can we get the video?
If you,
Rob?
Yes, you said that there's a video you want to play that Candace said she has full confidence Israel was involved.
Yep.
Yeah.
Based. W.
You said evidence that they killed him. I said this is why people think their involvement.
So she
If
can
they have the clip,
Yeah,
they
if they
can
got
play
the
the
clip.
clip.
Yeah.
They're referring to a clip.
Yeah.
Via who? My guess is Pierre. Erica. I think that there's a reason Pierre knew that Charlie was dead first. I think there's a reason he was a priority. How?
What is the
why?
reason?
I think France and Israel are involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination.
What
And,
involvement would they have?
I'm going to put that out there with full confidence.
Full confidence
They
that they're
also-
involved. Based
I
off of
understand.
what?
Yeah.
So you think you with full confidence you think that
Yeah, I think
that
Israel's
France
involved.
and Israel.
Yeah, I mean, the person that gave me that thing that I reported said that French Foreign Legion were on the ground that day. Again, this would
Doing
be
what?
at a professional limitation for me to then go
French Foreign
and
Legion were
probe
on
that
the ground
information and I hand it
where?
over.
What were they doing?
I can't do that. I'm not
But
the
you don't
United
have
States
any
Could they
government.
not
positive
be
evidence
like?
of that.
Could they
Right.
not
I don't-
be?
you
Could the just the normal thing be like French Foreign Legions were on there? So what does that mean? Who were the French Foreign Legion? Is that the military of France? Okay, what were they doing? And were they in Utah? What were they doing? Getting special training from the United States because we're allies with them, or like what? They weren't. Oh yes, we will. Let them kill the Kirk. What are you talking about? Literally, like what evidence? What positive evidence do you have to back up this claim? Nothing.
Can you just stop?
That's
It's
the main-
actually just like annoying to hear you keep saying positive evidence. I've just asked me what I think, and I just tell you yes.
But we don't care about what you think. We are asking for the positive evidence for your claims. That's the whole reason everyone has criticisms of you, is because you make crazy claims with no evidence. And people believe you because you have a large platform. You are peak, you are Queen Schizotard. You are literally conspiratard queen.
I think they are
that's
involved.
a claim.
No, I said here's what I think.
I have every right
think-
to ask you about your claim.
Yeah, but
and if there's
I
positive
said,
evidence
in
for
this
your
statement,
claim.
I literally just said I think,
You have
and I am
full
allowed to
confidence.
think. And
Yeah,
you
you're
keep
allowed to
saying,
think,
do you have
but you're making
positive
a
evidence?
claim.
I have tons of positive evidence that I'm allowed to think. Yes.
I agree. You're allowed to think.
Okay, so-
Nobody's disputing whether or not Candace Owens is allowed to think. What I'm asking is
but
if you have
what's your issue
positive
then? What is your issue with the statement?
evidence.
I think that Israel is involved.
That's
I
not
do.
what. That's not just what you said. You said
I have
I
full
did
that
say I
it's with
think.
it's with
Confidence.
full confidence.
Yes.
You
That
would
I
think
mis-
that if you had full
Can you have confidence
confidence,
to think when you think?
if I said, for
I have
instance,
full
I think I'm
confidence.
going to be late to work, right? With full confidence, I would say my evidence for that is that I'm 20 minutes away and I need to be there in 5.
Andrew,
That's how you would know whether or not you had full
I'm just going
confidence.
to tell you something.
Literally.
Hang
My
on,
sis-
let me finish. Let me finish.
Sure.
Let me finish. If it was the case that I said I have full confidence I'm going to be late to work, I would say my evidence that I'm going to be is that work is 20 minutes away, right, and I have to be there in 5. So I have full confidence. That's why I would think that. So I'm asking, if you think that Israel and France were involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and you say with full confidence, I'm just asking for the evidence, or
Literally.
at least walk me through the mindset of why it is that you could think
Why
that
you
with
I
actually
evidence.
actually
Literally,
don't
why
have to
can you
walk
think
you through
that?
why I think. I can give you something that I think with full confidence. I think with full confidence that you know you lost the substance of this debate, and now you're moving
Deflecting,
toward
you're
things that I have
deflecting.
said that I think, which
You're
I can do.
deflecting.
I'm
They're
allowed to think
pertinent to this
that.
debate.
It's not
deflecting.
exactly pertinent to this
It's
debate.
100% pertinent.
It's not pertinent because our debate
These are claims
claims
made about Charlie Kirk's assassination. That's the complete
but
substance of the debate.
no, actually, Would you like to remind him of what our debate claims actually were?
And would you like to remind
You
that you
said-
said I could ask you about any of these things
I
to my
said
heart's
feel
content?
free, but you do not get to structure how I'm allowed to reply or ask me
I'm
why
not
are you allowed
structuring
to
how you're
think.
allowed to reply. I'm just asking you direct questions.
I have full
Literally. She doesn't
confidence
like direct
that
questions, so.
you
Hey,
do
so
not
how do you feel,
feel
Candace?
that you represented your claim well.
Can you ask
and
her
so
if
now
she-
what
if
you
she's-
came
That's
prepared
nice.
to
I just
do is
wanna
to
know-
present yourself
Ask her
like
if
a
she didn't eat
professor of
breakfast, how she
I
feels.
fallacy.
just want to know.
And to say you're not allowed to say
You
that.
didn't
You
eat
can't.
breakfast this
It's
You
my
can say
podcast.
whatever you want.
Well,
But
I
Nobody's
said it.
disputing that. I'm
It
asking-
seems like you are disputing
I'm
it.
asking
I think
specifically
that when this
why
is
you
all
think
said
that.
and done, I've already explained to you. I explained at the beginning of this
Mm-hmm.
why I think Israel is ultimately going
France.
to be proven to have involvement in
Yeah,
this.
France is crazy.
I just explained to you in the middle, and now you're wanting me to structure the sentence or provide evidence. You don't have to. You're just allowed to think, and I've explained to
You're just
you
allowed
my
to
thought
think, make
process. I
baseless
don't need to
claims with no
structure it in a
evidence,
sentence.
and just
If you
feel.
feel like a professor today, you picked
feel
the
like
wrong
vibes.
day.
Don't you think that like tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people would want to know what Candace Owens' positive evidence for why it is
No, I
that
don't-
Israel and France were involved in the most traumatic public
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's the craziest claim I've heard yet, or like statement. Andrew goes, don't you think that hundreds of thousands of your fans would want positive evidence on why you're claiming Israel and France had a part to play in Charlie Kirk's assassination? She just goes, no. So you're basically calling all of your fans retarded and that they don't care about evidence. They just want to hear you say stuff.
assassination of Gen Z's lifetime is?
That's why they watch my podcast.
So you're just
Because
going to
they're
drip
retarded?
to them? Like, here's why
It's
I
not
think
dripping.
that?
Every time we come across any of these
her
discussions,
claim
they're
that her
watching
fans
this
are
in
retarded,
context
or
and they
too
know why I'm
retarded to
saying
think.
it. So, for example, when you're bringing up, well, Candace, where's your evidence for France doing this? I just told you someone who was high ranking in the French government, right?
Who's nameless?
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
But
So
of
there's
course.
good reason
so
to
it's not a
doubt this.
conspiracy, though, if I then took it to the federal government. Like, you can't just go out there making a claim to the federal government. You get in trouble for making false statements and things of that nature. So, and then you go, well, I'm going to probe that. Well, how can you probe that? This happened
I
to
can
me.
ask you- well,
This
that's
is
not
my
what I'm probing
podcast.
specifically.
This is my podcast. I am sharing my life and my experiences and what has happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
And you're basically coming in like you're going to, regulate how I'm allowed to say
Nope,
it, if
I'm
I'm,
not
allowed
trying to
to
regulate
say it.
anything. I'm asking
you're,
very
you're
pertinent
sounding a bit
questions.
like a professor trying to regulate and say, Candace,
You sound very
can't say, I
defensive
think.
and like you just don't want to answer questions.
I did answer your question 3
You
times. I just
literally-
didn't say it in the way that you wanted me to
just
say
kind
it.
of obfuscate and you run away from it. But I would like for you to
let's
actually
just go
focus
through every
on it.
clip that you guys have prepared because it's pretty. I think with full confidence, people will recognize the strategy that you're trying to employ. So let's get to the next clip you have prepared.
Sure, they can pull up whatever clips they
whatever
want.
it is
yeah.
that you guys have prepared. So let's go.
But I would still. On this point, I just want to make sure that you have full confidence that France and Israel were involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
I think in
and
the
you
end-
have no evidence for it at all that you'll give us.
Well, I already did tell you where it came from. Like I said, I can explain it to you. I can't understand
Did
it
that
for
same
you. So
higher
if you
up
need to,
tell you
if
that
need
he was
to-
going to kill, or that France killed Charlie Kirk, or just that you were in danger?
They said that the French Foreign Legion was involved and on the ground that day. I've already said that. You just don't like hearing it.
No,
Candace, just out of curiosity,
You
just
when
have no evidence for
pass
that.
down that message to a Tulsi or Trump,
Tulsi's office, yes.
Tulsi's office, are you giving them who told you that, or you're just saying, here's what I heard from
And I
somebody?
have this information.
Sure.
And of course, if they wanted to open a file on it, which I thought was quite mysterious, that Trump's office never got back to us. It was kind of weird about maybe they're not
probably
the
just
correct
like, you're
office
schizo,
too. I
I
did
don't
receive
believe
a
you.
response
Or
from
he's like,
Tulsi
someone else handle
Gabbard's
this,
office,
please.
but I don't think there was ever any investigation into what I
Got it.
said.
So the call was, hey, I've been
Emailed.
told
It's-
the email.
Yes.
Email was, I've been told
I have
somebody is-
information, that the French Foreign Legion was on the ground during Charlie's assassination, and that, it was a lot of information, but
Well, you didn't give specifics who it was from.
not in the first email because I figured they would
Perfect.
Yeah.
So if they do
You wanna drip
contact
the
you,
US government.
are you
100, yes.
comfortable giving 100% who it is?
You're
I would
edging the U.S.
absolutely give them as
government
much
on
information
Can I
as
ask you a
possible.
question?
regarding
If
your
whoever's the U.S.
regarding the
government,
safety
why are
of
you
your,
not?
Yes,
self.
it's very strange to me.
So
Fascinating.
if that's the case, now they may respond back and say we did. That's their position.
I did.
I'm
That's
not
why I
involved.
did it in writing.
And so I'm glad that's the case
Yes.
because. So if they
And
do
right
ask
away in
you-
Trump's office, Margot got right back to me. She said it was on his desk, so he has that. There's no.
And if you do say that and
Mm-hmm.
they contact that individual, obviously you don't have to leak your sources here.
Mm-hmm.
Is there enough credibility where that person would be willing to talk to them and explain to them exactly what their sources
Yes.
are? Okay. I mean, that's.
It seems reasonable. And so why he's asking me to defend that is like,
I'm
These
not.
are just claims.
Never
I
did.
think those are two different things. That's more
Two
something
They're
I
literally
don't
different
say.
claims.
Why are they
completely
not reaching
different
out to you?
claims.
I've asked that
No one's
many
disputing
times on
that
my
you got
podcast.
threatened or whatever.
What do you think about that, Andrew?
What?
The fact that she emailed, she gave it,
Who
and nobody
cares?
reached out to want to contact the
They
source. that
probably
she's willing
didn't
to
think it was
share.
actionable, is my guess. But even if they did think it was actionable, great. Every lead should be followed up on within the confines of what's rational and reasonable.
Is it fair to say that this is maybe a different individual because this is a person that was involved with TPUSA
Well, we
and
don't-
had a relationship
Wait,
with Charlie?
who?
No, her relationship. Like
Yeah.
this isn't just anybody. So if an average person sends it, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't know who the source is. We don't know any
Well,
of
then
this.
if you were in that department, wouldn't you want to, even you assign it to one of your
There's
guys
no
to
guarantee
say,
they didn't look into it. How do we know? We don't
How
know.
could they
No,
if
how
they didn't
could they
come
if
get
she didn't give it
the
to them?
information, more of the information, because it
And
was a
by the way,
long file.
Yeah.
This is a separate, this has
Did
got
you send
nothing to
them
do
the
with the
guy's
debate.
name?
This is more on
Well, I sent the email, assuming that's you kept saying like you go and you make a report.
imagine
You
her
if-
email
if
getting
think
hacked.
they're going to come
Rose
back
cooked.
to you and say, "Hey, what's more information? We're investigating this," and that didn't happen, and which is what I raised.
No,
I
I'm
found
asking,
that,
did you send them the
especially
source
because
of
this
the
was at a
claim?
time where they were saying that they wanted to explore every possible lead. I even texted Dan Bongino.
But did you-
So actually, it was three offices.
Let me ask
the
one question and then
executive
I'm gonna
office,
confuse.
Dan Bongino,
Yeah.
and Tulsi Gabbard's office.
Okay, so a follow-up to that is the following.
Mm-hmm.
If they contact you to say, is that specifically to the French government or Israel's involvement in the killing of Charlie Kirk?
That wasn't about
Those
Israel.
are two separate things.
That wasn't about Israel. It was
Okay,
they were
got it.
saying the French foreign that person as a part of it was saying that it was the French Foreign Legion that was on the ground that
So
day.
I'm surprised
and
they
I
haven't
think
called you.
Then I find that to be very strange
Very-
too.
I do as well.
Because
My-
who would want to make a report? Like I mean, I've never
Who
made a
cares?
report
Who
with the
thinks
federal
it's
But let me
government.
ask one question.
But what
Let me
he
just
did
ask
how
one
is it
question.
strange?
Let me just ask one question, and
Like,
I'm going
genuinely
to
how?
bring
Okay.
it to you.
Sure.
The question is in regards to, I've not seen that clip, so I'm seeing it now. The I'm full confidence. I believe that Israel French was involved. Is that also based on a source that somebody told you that Israel was involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, or is that a gut feeling?
So in terms of Israel, I mean, what I've said is what I publicly have said here. I do think that at the end of this, we are going to find that Israel was involved. I do. Now, when
Like how?
in terms of any of the
How are they
hard evidence
involved?
that's been
Trying to help
presented, I
the
think this
United
has been a
States find
huge
the killer?
problem that a lot
Trying
of
to
us
help the
have had
United
is that
States build
they
a
won't even
relationship?
explore
Right.
anything else that was going on in Charlie's life personally. So if we're not satisfied that Tyler Robinson did this in any way, then every alternative theory should be explored. Other evidence should be brought forward. We've done that in our capacity. Like when people keep saying she has no evidence, it's kind of crazy. I think we've broken like more stories than any news source in the world. I mean, down to pictures, details, police officers, what the dog's name was, because we're not the only people that believe there's a conspiracy here. The police officers that were involved, the many police sheriff's offices that were departments that were involved that day, all believe that there was a conspiracy. Down to the U.S. Marshals believe that there was a conspiracy. They were my sources at the U.S. Marshals were saying they were basically sent on a wild goose chase that day.
But do you see how you say my sources?
Because they don't know.
You're
Am I not allowed to have sources?
Well,
Like
the
news-
thing
news-
is funny.
so is
What
CNN
about
allowed to
now?
have
Well, hang
sources,
on. I
but
have
we can't?
sources.
Do
If I
those US
said I
Marshals
have
feel the
sources
same
that
way they
claim
did
none of
that
that's
day
true.
to now?
In fact, my sources claim that her sources are lying. My sources claim that there is none of them believe that there's a conspiracy. My sources claim all of them really think that Tyler Robinson was a lone gunman. If I just said that as hypothetical, wouldn't you say what?
Yeah, I think what probably adds weight is like then when I drop photos of the car that no one was
Nope.
supposed to see, people go, okay, her sources are legit.
They're
So,
not.
and then when what I say is then proven in court and nobody knew those things, people are recognizing that my sources are legit. When I say
Doesn't
Charlie was scared in the last days, and then I dropped the text message, which you've just learned about a couple of weeks ago, of him saying he was leaving the pro-Israel cause when everyone was lying about that, then they say, I think Candace's sources are legit. So I think what's happened is I've actually built up a rapport with my audience that
Yeah,
is
maybe
not
with your
vibes and
audience,
dreams,
not
and
with
that's why they
actual
keep
reasonable
watching my
people.
content, because like, for example, when I just the other day released the content of the shooter on the roof doing the lateral crawl, then they're going, I don't think these are just vibes. It seems like Candace's sources are legit. So I've proven myself in the market.
Yeah, I'm not sure that would legitimize your sources as being legitimate when it comes to the idea that, oh, they all believe that there's a conspiracy going on, which is actually what your claim is now. How would that
Literally.
actually?
I was just-
hang on,
Literally.
I'm almost done.
Not glad I was talking to PVD.
How
without
would that
me.
legitimize? Well, it's not his debate. How would it legitimize these sources? That even if it's the case that you get some court footage or some things like this, Why would it legitimize that your sources are telling you all the marshals believe it's a conspiracy, all the police believe it's a conspiracy, everybody believes it? How would that legitimize any of
what
that?
I am saying to you, and you are not forced to believe it. So let me just explain what I was answering here, and I think that you understood what I was saying. Is I have, because people trust me, compiled a lot of information and presented it to the public, and this information has been proven true. We've presented photos, we have presented videos, never before seen stuff. The public has never seen it. And so what that does is your audience goes, okay, when she says that she has these sources, clearly she's telling the truth. Now, whether you would then go, well, I'm going to believe her when she says they don't believe, they think that there's a conspiracy, that's up to you. You cannot watch my content. I'm not here to tell you that you have to watch my content or believe everything I'm saying.
Well, don't you think questioners should get questioned as well?
By who? I'm not committing a crime, am I? If I just like
I'm not committing a crime. What are you talking about?
Not actually committing crimes.
But what do you mean they should answer questions where? Like at a police station? Like
no,
what are you
just in general.
If you want people to come in and answer questions for you, I have questions about this in the investigation. I have questions about this. I have questions about that. You want them to answer your questions. Doesn't it seem totally fair that you answer back the questions people have for you?
Well, they're not answering our questions, so it's also fair that they don't answer them.
So you're
saying, that's why I said Andrew Colvett should be in this chair. He's not.
But
that's
isn't that
his prerogative.
But isn't that a double standard?
No, it's not, because he's not doing it.
Yeah, but that would still be a double standard. If you're requesting that he does do it, then that seems to infer that you think he owes you answers.
Oh, so inferences are allowed again?
And they never weren't. So that seems to infer that you think that he owes you answers. If that's the case, then don't you owe answers?
Yeah, well, I feel like I'm answering your questions and his questions about. I mean, I'm talking about Andrew Colvett. His position is he's a spokesperson for Turning Point USA. So when the crowd turns against Turning Point USA on the basis of a lack of information, or because there has been, I don't know, seeds sown of distrust, I would imagine, and forget answering my questions because it doesn't need to be me.
But aren't you sowing a lot of those seeds of distrust?
Well, I think they're doing a pretty good job themselves, if I'm being honest. You can blame it on Candace all you want.
Well,
people love to do that.
The thing is funny is
people act like I'm ground zero.
I'll be fair with you.
Ground zero of people not trusting Turning Point USA.
I think that there was some PR there. I think there was some PR there. Sure, they could have done better. Absolutely. I'm not disputing any of that. One thing, though, that I want to just directly ask you is, do you actually believe that anybody in TPUSA or Erica Kirk or Erica actually participated, had foreknowledge of, or facilitated the murder of Charlie Kirk?
I'm not going to get myself into a legal pickle here. Everything I've said is on my podcast. I think firmly that if I was the investigating officers, I would seat them all and I would ask questions.
Sounds like you don't trust any of them.
Okay,
so
what does that
hypothetical,
mean? What does that mean?
Does that mean that you do think so?
I think it was not a sufficient investigation into what we know to be true of 80% of homicides. It's usually conducted by someone you know, right? And the fact that that was never even considered, that like I said earlier, the backpack was returned.
How do you know that was never considered?
Because they gave back the backpack as just one example.
Is that after their investigation or what?
They gave back the...
that doesn't show a conspiracy.
Well, I mean, it shows that the police trusted everybody and didn't just hold things up for a second.
Yeah, they ruled them out as suspects.
Yeah, after the investigation.
That quickly, I'm not comfortable with that investigation. It's a pretty big organization. There's a $100 million incentive. This is...
What $100 million incentive?
What I'm saying is his organization, like it had grown to, I think it was 100 million.
Plus per year.
Yeah, per year. If that's something you want to factor
in,
that's fine.
Your team wants to play video.
She wants to fact check all this useless garbage that no one's talking about. Shut up.
Candace said it's impossible to not believe Erica's complicit. If you guys want to play that video.
Yeah.
Literally.
And so right now, their guys are going out and they're going to look for evidence. And then by May, which is fortunately around the corner, then she'll see what they found. So what the F is that performance? How could you sit up there and say,
Candace Owens' face,
I 100% believe Tyler Robinson did it?
That's killing me. That's so funny.
That right there is why it is impossible for me to think that Erica Kirk is not complicit somehow.
How is she complicit in her husband's death? You are insane.
Actually don't even follow. How would it be the case that even if Erica Kirk did believe that Tyler Robinson was 100% responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk, let's just say she believed it with every fiber of her being, believed all the evidence, because she did. She just actually did. Would it then follow that somehow she's complicit in his death?
I didn't say complicit in death. You added those 2 words.
Okay, so what's she complicit in?
Yes. So sowing this narrative that Tyler Robinson is guilty. So you're chopping up clips. Like I said, you didn't have the confidence to come in and
tell
debate.
me.
So
What
now
does
you're
that mean?
chopping
What
it
does
up.
complicit mean?
We are showing a clip of her on Barry Weiss, which I can't remember the date that she did that interview. And Erica, when she is asked, "Are you one? Do you feel with 100% certainty that Tyler Robinson did this?" And she says, "I do." Then again, context matters. I sit down with Erica for 4 hours under the assumption that she had some evidence, right? Like I'm like, I actually, this is why I did not engage in any like Erica, everyone's questioning what she's wearing and all this stuff. I was like, I'm going to wait here because I don't know, just it feels weird to think that, did I think that some of her mannerisms were weird and stuff like that? Yeah, but that's not, you can't convict somebody on weird mannerisms. And then when I sat down with her and I was expecting for her to say, well, I'm obviously the victim on the case and we got to see the shot, taken or this or that, whatever it is. Great. That's why she has that much confidence 2 months ago. And when I sat down with her, it was nothing. It was nothing. Okay. So this is a conversation.
How would that make her complicit?
Complicit. And again, you said complicit in the death of Charlie Kirk.
Complicit in what? Yeah.
Well, if you let me finish my sentence, I could tell you that. But my point being
You're
is
not
that
saying
then you take a
anything.
look at this and you go, okay, well, this is weird. Why would you have this confidence? And then when you sit across from somebody and you say, okay, great, I want to go out there and defend you now. I want people to know that you can't say this stuff publicly, but you know more things. And she just blanks. And then she says, well, I'm going to call the lawyer. And she called the lawyer. Again, all this is on my show. So out of context clips is not going to work because I know what I say on my show.
Okay.
So we call her lawyer and her lawyer says to us, she calls him on the phone, pardon me. And it's me, her, and Justin Strife. And I'm like, okay, great. What do you guys have? He goes, well, we don't have anything yet. We're not at that phase yet. And I'm like, well, what do you mean you don't have anything? And he says, well, don't you know how it works? It's a probable cause hearing. So basically the state says that they're going to bring this forward. And now our people go out and they look for the evidence to assert that Tyler Robinson is guilty. And so I asked her directly, her lawyer directly, the phone's in between us. I'm like, wait, so just so I'm clear, you haven't seen anything that the public hasn't seen? And he says no. So I'm going back in my head and I'm going, okay, so why is Erica saying with such a degree of certainty, like she was sent out to convince the public and people bit, by the way. I remember even Megyn Kelly was like, let's wait. She's going to have access to things. I did think she had access to things that we didn't have. Why express that confidence to the public as opposed to just being like, we don't know yet. I feel confident he's involved. They made an arrest.
I don't understand. How would any of this make her complicit and in what?
Well, I've already told you. She's complicit in.
She felt that all the evidence that they have seen supports that Tyler Robinson killed her husband, and you feel different. That's all it is just feelings and vibes, bro. Like, what are you talking about? I pay these guys $5,000 a day. I'm cooked.
And trying to fool the public into thinking this is some open and shut case.
How's she trying to fool the public into this? If she believes
Like, don't look anywhere
believes
else.
that Tyler Robinson killed Kirk, if she believes that, how would that be complicit in anything?
I do.
Are you saying that you think she doesn't believe it?
I don't believe that at that stage she sat down with Barry Weiss that's what she believes. No, but that's my opinion.
Right.
Yeah,
but
that's literally your
when
opinion.
you just say complicit,
And you
just
guess
mean
what? Don't
she
have any
believes that
positive
Tyler
evidence
Robinson
of it
killed Kirk?
either.
That's it.
That's what we were talking about. That's why I said if your strategy was to dice up clips and take it out of context and make it seem like I said she was complicit.
Everything.
Yeah, but then why not just play the full thing?
Because we don't have an hour and a half to sit through your show.
Like infinite amounts of time, I'm guessing. You probably don't want to watch.
I'm going to go back to my theory that you didn't feel confident that you could defend your claim that
What's your positive evidence for
so
that?
now you're trying to move towards doctored clips and getting me to
there's
respond
no
to
doctored
it.
anything. I'm just making sure that we got this right.
Yes,
that what you're actually saying is that Erica is just complicit in believing it.
When I re-examined her actions backward, because I did not have this perspective of her at the beginning, which is why it's so funny to me that you guys make it seem like I'm ground zero.
Why not?
People thought Erica was sus from day I forgive him. And I was not a part of that. I did not lean into that. I did not contribute to that. I was getting actually terrible messages from my fans being like, Candace, you and Charlie always say to go with your intuition. You won't address this, how we all feel about her. Things changed for me when I saw that Zoom call. I will tell you that for sure. And the fact that she lied to me. So I sat across from her and, I wanted to have that conversation publicly, but they're probably grateful they didn't do it publicly. she told me some lies. And so the next thing that happens naturally when somebody lies to you, you go, when any person lies to you, whether it's a toddler, people only lie when they're trying to obscure something else.
Have you addressed what that lie was?
Yeah, I've talked about, we have a list of lies that we've been told by Jay.
Awesome.
We can find
What's
that.
the list?
Meeting with her.
Get the list out.
Well, no.
Gamers,
I
can we
didn't
get a
want her
fact
to
check on the
cage
list,
up.
please?
I didn't want
Holy
to do
Sigma.
this. Because
I have
I
you?
didn't know what to expect. Like,
That's a
I
slave.
didn't
Shoot
know
my
she was going to be
slave
like,
bullet.
I'm so overwhelmed with everything, you know, and I don't know who to trust the organization, and I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I didn't know. I didn't want to.
Just out of curiosity, before anything happened with Charlie, how close were you and Erica?
Not close at
very
all.
close.
So there's not a relationship.
So she already got beef.
I would say it's totally normal. Like, it's not like there was
She
any
already had
issues
beef
at all.
with her, bro.
We were always nice to each
Literally,
other.
what are we
just
doing?
Our life went to a different phase, right? So Charlie and I hitting the ground, running around, traveling 4 days a week. Now I get married. I find love of my life. I get married and I get pregnant. I've been pregnant. I haven't stopped being pregnant. And what you want out of life changes. You don't want to be running around.
Is it true that him and Candace Owens weren't friends? Like, he unfollowed her and
traveling
everything,
on
like
a
a
plane
year
nonstop.
before he
You suddenly
died
want
and
to
stuff
start
like
building
that?
at home.
Oh
and
my
live.
gosh.
I was desiring that suburban life.
Okay,
Did
who
you guys ever do
cares?
the double dates? You, George,
No one
her,
cares.
and Charlie, was there ever double dates?
Where's the
between all of
positive
them?
evidence for your stupid claims? Can we get some positive evidence, please?
Planning our wedding. I was kind of in my bubble with George.
gosh,
George
can I get
traveled
some-
with me and Charlie, but Erica and him were just starting to date at the
Can I
beginning of
please get some
2019.
positive
George and I were
evidence?
planning
This
our
is just
marriage.
nothing.
So
This is
George really
girl
got to know
drama
Charlie.
garbage.
I wouldn't say that.
This
I really
is
got to
slop.
know Erica. I was just
The words
rooting
you're
for
saying
them
are
because
slop, Candace.
I knew how much Charlie
No one
wanted
cares.
to, find love, and so I was kind of his wing woman.
Wing
throughout
woman?
that phase, and I was just happy, and I never was under the impression, obviously, that they were going to get married when they were dating. So it wasn't like I was conscious. I really need to get to know this person, and so it was just kind of normal that by that time, because of where I was in my life, that I wasn't spending any time
sus, but whatever.
getting to know Erica per se.
So the complicit part about Erica to you, is that a gut feeling? You think
It transformed when she lied.
you can take the lead? I'm
What
just
did she
asking
lie
questions.
about?
so
My
I don't-
gosh.
I actually don't. I still don't understand what you think she's complicit in.
Yeah, so
Yes.
when
What is she
I say
complicit in?
Erica's complicit, that's my opinion. When you tweeted Erica's too retarded to kill her husband,
Yeah.
would you like to explain how you developed your evidence, your positive evidence for the fact that Erica was retarded?
Yeah, sure. So
Yeah.
I just think all women are retarded.
Oh, so you're allowed to just say stuff. Who knew?
hello.
by the way, and what,
Hello, base department. I'm just kidding. I'm joking, but that's funny. That's a funny joke.
and what dramatically
I just think all women are
transformed your
retarded.
opinion of
Oh my
Erica
gosh,
after
based?
going to the headquarters, because you were pretty hostile about.
just
I
a
wasn't
joke.
hostile towards them.
You don't think calling somebody too retarded?
No,
Is
come on. That's like normal tongue-in-cheek stuff for me online.
Literally.
Oh, you're being tongue in cheek.
Usually
I want
when
one
I
of
call someone
yous.
retarded, I'm being
Come
tongue-in-cheek, yeah. Like, for instance,
Come here.
you got supporters. I mean, if you
Come
were
here.
if you want to use the same exact argument,
I'm gonna
you would
take
take
you-
a
I'm
supporter
taking
like
you
Lauren
by the slate.
Benjamin.
Oh my gosh.
He called you bad names and called your husband bad names. Are you just you're just
Oh my
like,
gosh.
well,
Oh my gosh. Oh my
no
gosh.
biggie?
I've never answered him on anything that he said. I'm saying that you
Wow,
now are
Luigi.
her
Where did
biggest
he go?
defender. So
Come
do you still
here.
think
I'm
she's
not her
baby.
biggest defender.
Do you think
What are you
still think
doing?
she's too retarded?
No. I didn't know Erica Kirk. I'd never met her before.
Okay, but you had an issue with Turning Point being led by a bunch of fembots talking about
Still
the
do.
feminist angle.
Still do.
And then suddenly you go to the
Still think
headquarters.
it's a terrible idea.
You go into
Yep.
the headquarters. Now all of a sudden you've got text messages that you're sharing with them. You say that you and your wife are getting involved.
I think I have
with
100 of these
management.
labels.
No,
Oh my
no,
gosh.
I'm not involved in any management at Turning Point
Well,
USA.
I'm pretty sure there is a clip of you where you say that your wife went to their recent conference and sat down, and then when you were on Joe Rogan,
No. Hang on. I'll explain what happened, just so that you understand.
We can just watch the debate
So
while I try
I was
to
invited there
capture
to
this.
do some debate training. That's literally what I was
Chungus.
invited there to do,
Mm-hmm.
on recommendation. So I went down and did some debate. That's the first time I ever met
Yay,
anybody.
I got him.
okay, and then you said you sat down with
Cars.
Erica.
Well, I didn't sit down to her. I talked to her in a hallway.
So you didn't sit down and speak with Erica?
No, I didn't have like some sit down long conversation. We talked in a hallway.
Okay.
For,
Is
I
that
don't
when
know,
you gave her
maybe-
the hug?
Yeah, gave her the hug right there. My wife did too. We were both very sorry for what happened.
Okay,
to
so
her.
at what point
She lost
did
her
you
husband.
start receiving text messages from that you cited in your opening statement?
Oh,
that
I've just reached out to TPUSA and said I'm prepping for a debate. Is there anything that's pertinent that I can use here?
Do you find it interesting that people have been asking for, basic answers to questions, and You're saying that you walked into their headquarters and reached out and they instantly...
It's amazing, isn't it? If you reach out in good faith and you're not demonizing them and saying that they're complicit in the murder of people's deaths, that perhaps they're actually willing to release things to you that are pertinent, other than thinking that, you know, perhaps you're diabolical.
Well, I don't know. I feel like if I was going to release that information, I didn't demand that it be released to me. I actually never demanded that it be released. I just simply said that
true?
this
Can we
is
get a
what was
fact
going
check on
on in the
that?
last 48 hours. Maybe to the media they could release it. They could release it to PBD. They decided to release it to a guy that called Erica too retarded in June.
So what?
Yeah, I just think it kind of shows that Turning Point is sending you as their horse.
Well, I don't know where
they don't have the courage to have the conversation.
Like, I don't
if they
see
were
this.
just releasing something in good faith to answer questions.
Do you have any
I've never
evidence
demanded.
of that claim?
It's not evidence.
No.
You're sharing your opinion
No.
that she's too retarded. I can't share my opinion that I think it's going to register as really obvious to the public. That rather than presenting that throughout the course of everybody wanting to know what Charlie was going through his...
Does this work? I'm just pause it. All right. What's happening? Oh, yeah.
his last days, they decided to give it to you to come to my house as some sort of a surprise.
Well,
do you think the public's not smart enough to see through that?
Do you think that if you know
about terrible PR,
if you know that there's a huge debate that's coming up that's going to be probably one of the most viewed that year, and one of the debaters calls you and says, I'm taking this position, this is the position that I feel like there's the most evidence for, and Candace also agreed to answer many of my questions in regards to this. So if you got pertinent evidence here that I can use, I definitely like take a look.
What is the...
It was actually amazing to me. It really was actually amazing to me how if you approach people in good faith and just say, hey, I'd actually like to know what the facts and details are around this, they actually do talk to you. It's amazing.
Crazy.
Yeah, I just
Being in good
do
faith
not
is
believe,
crazy.
that they are doing this in good faith. I don't believe that anything you have done has demonstrated that's in good faith. It demonstrates that you walked into Turning Point USA headquarters and came out a different man because you were critical of the organization. You were critical of Erica, and now you're sitting here going,
well,
Candace, I want to interrogate you for an hour and a half about everything you've ever said about Erica.
Have you ever been critical of somebody that you hadn't met and then you meet them and you're less critical of them?
And the inverse has happened too. I was less critical about Erica, and now I'm more critical about her.
But I'm asking you, isn't it the case that there's people you've been critical of and then you've met them and you're less critical after you meet them?
Too retarded. I feel like if you think that she's dumb and you, let's just talk about your record.
That
I mean, you're a person that has spent time in what most people would term to be the manosphere, talking about well, yeah.
I debate against
against feminists
and red pillars.
Okay.
And a lot of the actual. So I'm a Christian ethicist.
And then you go on to Joe Rogan, and you're like soft explaining away why Erica had to take over Charlie's company when they don't have a parent at home. So now you're a feminist icon. Like you just go into the headquarters and you just shift all of your perspectives.
That's a bizarre criticism. Like nobody's in the bigger girl boss position than you.
Yeah, I'm actually
You're in the biggest of the girl boss positions. Like you don't have to do this.
Okay.
You just do this. You could definitely not do it at all and be fine, right? But you still do.
I would say that you are making a comparison that cannot be compared because Erica's husband was just assassinated in front of the world.
Which makes sense why she would take the organization over.
No, it makes sense why you would go home to your kids, just so you know.
Wait a second. That's bizarre.
Yeah. They don't have a parent. They don't have a parent,
protect,
and they've just suffered a trauma. You don't go into the office.
You want to
protect
protect your husband's legacy, right?
No.
And you're trying to find some
the
new
legacy
normal.
is his children, not the organization.
It's both.
No,
it's literally both.
Yes, it is both. It's totally rational and reasonable to believe that it would be both Turning Point USA, that is part of Charlie Kirk's legacy. He worked his whole life for it.
This is why people think she's sus.
And his children. Now, for you, though, to say that anybody's a girl boss, right? That's like the pot calling the kettle black.
That came out of your mouth.
No, that was you. You brought up girl boss.
Girl boss came out of your mouth.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm telling you that you brought up this idea that I'm defending some feminist nonsense. I'm not. I'm pointing out that they're. By the way,
she's not qualified to take over his company.
There's always objective outliers to each situation. In fact, it's the exception that proves the rule. And the interesting thing here is like, I'm still just as critical of feminism inside of TPUSA as I've always been. And I'm just as critical of any pro-Zionist position as I've ever been. None of that's ever changed. By the way, I would think it's the most rational, reasonable thing on planet Earth to do if you wanted to actually see an organization change, to try to work with leadership or reach out to leadership to try to do so. Doesn't that make the most amount of sense?
I would like to state for the record that I think Erica is underqualified to run the organization.
Sure.
And on the more emotional aspects, I agree with what seems to be a majority opinion. I'm not gonna say it's scientific, that any woman that would leave her kids and go right into the office after their husband was publicly assassinated does not have their priorities straight.
Okay, well,
Okay.
I understand that
That's
you can
opinion.
have those criticisms, but I'm not understanding still how that would make her complicit.
I don't have to keep answering the same question.
Okay,
so
but
let's
do you
let's
feel
get.
like you got an answer to how it's complicit?
Your team is asking to play a clip. So if we
Okay.
want to play this clip to just finish this segment on the Erica Kirk topic, we can spend some time on that as well. So
Okay.
if you guys are ready in the back, we're ready.
I don't need that.
And causing that 30-06 diameter, as would happen with a patent explosives, as we've demonstrated to you in the past, it accidentally, because of how Charlie was crouched, went up and hit his neck. And that ruined everything. That ruined everything. It was problematic. It's the reason why Terrell then had to scramble to get the cameras down, because they were never supposed to see it. They could have said reasonably that a 30-06 got eaten by Charlie, much more reasonably, obviously, than saying that the chicken bones in his neck stopped it because he ate vegetables.
What?
They panicked. That's why Terrell's nervous on the phone with me. Again, this is my theory, and I am now very much sticking to it. Okay. They panicked. It's the reason Erica had to step out. That's why she would have gotten on the phone with Terrell so quickly, because I was going, why is Terrell saying, well, I didn't want Erica to relive, oh, that's why I did it. He didn't have an answer. He was nervous. It was crazy. But he acknowledged it. He spoke to Erica immediately. Why did you speak to Erica immediately?
So do you believe that there was a
Charlie
shape
Kirk.
charge that killed Charlie?
Hey, can I ask you why you keep starting clips mid-sentence?
Probably to get to where the clip is.
No, it doesn't seem that way, because you can always start a clip at the beginning of a sentence. Like you're just it's
She's
completely out of
deflecting again.
context.
Very good
I didn't,
deflection.
Yes.
I didn't
So
prepare the
in
clips,
the-
but
yeah, I think-
it's-
Can I capture
I
this
didn't,
thing?
You
but
were
it's
kinda
fine
ready.
to ask it to
Danger's
back it
zone.
up.
Like I said, I don't
what?
need to say what's happening here because the internet will clock it. But
Oh yeah, Aaron's clocking.
in this
beans,
episode,
bro.
we are now going, and that's why I said we're now going to look at some alternative theories. I made it very clear that this was a theory that I didn't want to look at. This is, I believe, because I don't have every episode in my head, but
I thought
I'm
you said
pretty
you
sure
remember
this is an
everything you said.
episode where we presented the evidence that was in the car, the photos of what was in the car, right? And so we are now inferring off of what we see in the car that this very much does look like that we see a bunch of shattered Rode microphone, which was an early theory that I was actually interested in, but couldn't really wrap my head around what was the shape charge explosive. As I say at the beginning of the episode, it was just not my expertise, and I was concerning myself with timelines and stories and statements that didn't make sense. Without question, Terrell Farnsworth is someone who made me think that we were missing a big part of the story. So I'm walking them through John Bray's theory. If we started to insert what we are actually observing with the evidence that we're taking a look at and what took place that day. So we're completely in the hypothetical right here. And you're now introducing this.
If that's the case, if you're just hypothetically exploring it,
and
that's why I'm just asking directly.
Yes, but that's obvious when you watch this episode. So that's why it feels like I'm in the middle of an interview with CNN when they pull up random clips and they're
No, I'm
like,
just making
"What's
sure.
this?
Isn't this what
What's
you've
this?"
done
You
to
watch the
everyone?
episode, you
I'm
know
just
what
trying
it
to make
is.
sure. Do you think that your alternative theory?
I think John Bray's theory should be explored. Yes.
Okay. Do you think that Charlie Kirk was killed with an explosive?
I think that is a possibility. Yes.
What's
Okay.
the
and
likelihood?
it should be explored. He's done a lot of work on it. John Bray has done good work, and I think that's why that
There's a likelihood for
theory
that
is
to
now
be
starting to
plausible.
gain steam since we released the second set of the photos of what was in the car. I think it's viable.
So this was the big thing I wanted to get into with you on the explosives too.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about that theory that's actually compelling to you? So I looked into the explosive mic theory multiple times, and the biggest thing that stood out to me is there's no explosion.
Yeah.
There's literally no explosion. In fact, there's videos when the shot rings out that kills Charlie. At least it sounds like a shot to me. People are actually looking up towards where
The shot came from?
the gun is being fired. They're looking away for where the sound is. Where's the actual explosion?
Well, for every person that you say looks away, there's going to be a person that was looking forward. We have
So
former
what?
Marines that have gotten on and said, it looks to me like there's an explosion under his shirt, right? You obviously
there's no shot.
saw Rob O'Neill
Oh my gosh.
go on to, I'm forgetting which platform it was, where he said, the first thing I thought was it looked
Rob
like...
O'Neill is the man that killed Osama bin Laden.
Yeah, and I think he's qualified to say what he believes he saw. We should actually, since they're pulling clips, we should run that clip of Rob O'Neill and what he said and what he observed and his experience.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take that. And also there were people who immediately spoke to the media that day who said the same thing, that they thought that something happened under his shirt. That was actually, if you go back to like my first episode when I was just observing what I saw with my eyes, I was asking the serious question. I was seriously saying, why is it like somebody shot him from underneath? Why is his shirt moving first? It doesn't make sense to me. And
That's because of air dispersal from the bullet. So whenever a bullet is shot, a projectile shot, you can actually run this experiment yourself if you have a rifle. Take like an empty box of ammunition and put it on the table, and then fire it near the muzzle, and that box will actually blow off the table.
Okay, so question for you. Does that box go sideways off the table?
It can.
It can.
Yeah, it can. It depends on the dispersal.
You 3,000 pounds of energy or 2,000 pounds of energy coming at you. That's how much it carries.
Well, it's not
30-06.
2,000 pounds of energy.
Well, we can fact check that.
That's-
How many pounds of energy is it? A 30-06 being shot 150 yards away. That's a great question for Grok. I'm going to say when we looked at it, it was between 1,500 and 2,000. I'm pretty sure pounds of energy coming at you, and you just go upward and to the side. I don't really buy that. I'm going to just say I just think that that's not possible. It doesn't go through on top of that. So there's another miracle. You didn't get blown backwards. It didn't go through. But I also want to say that you're saying this can happen, and Rob O'Neill is infinitely more qualified, I think, to speak on that.
Why?
And
Why is he more qualified?
Well, because he's actually shot and killed people.
Why would that have anything to do with anything?
Because
did he slow down all the videos of the people he shot to see if their clothes moved?
Well, why are you able to assert your position as a fact?
Because I'm gonna tell you how projectiles work. He's not even gonna I guarantee you this guy's not even gonna disagree with what I'm about to say. If it is the case that you have energy and you have mass and the mass is moving in the air has to go somewhere.
Yeah,
it doesn't have a choice.
I think you're totally BSing right now, man.
Not only am I not BSing, I'm telling you the truth. If a bullet is moving in air has to move out of way of bullet.
But maybe not at the bottom of a shirt here. I don't know. I disagree with that. I'd like to say for the record, I've watched some of you.
There's no way. When a bullet is moving through air moves away from the bullet because of... And she's like, I don't agree with that. I think it moves towards the bullet. She doesn't say that, but like, where do you think the air goes when the bullet passes through air? Does it not disperse?
You do these sorts of things where you assert something with a lot of confidence, and it's,
you can fact check it.
Your
check if bullets displace air.
Not about whether it displaced air; it's where it dispersed the air. Underneath his shirt here.
It's not underneath the shirt.
A bullet's this big, and you're telling me it's going to hit his neck,
Candace,
and then
it's not underneath
it is beneath
the
his shirt. The
it
shirt
starts
puffs.
up here, and the collar's moving, and then you see the wave here as he's moving backwards.
No.
Yeah.
That's not true.
It's not.
And we obviously can't show that clip. I disagree with you.
Okay, I understand you can't show it for TOS purposes.
Exactly.
That's fine.
I disagree with you. People can go watch and make up their own minds. We don't need to debate it. Whether or not that was the first thing I said was, why is his shirt moving first? That didn't make sense to me. It almost looks just like this. It goes across. His necklace breaks first before Charlie even reacts. If you watch it in slow, his necklace breaks first, which I thought was very odd. And then you see a puff here, and then the next thing you know, there's the entry wound on his neck. I would not confidently assert that I see smoke. I've never said it on my platform.
Do you think that an explosion generally has smoke?
I don't think that there's any quality version of video that would get us to be able to answer that question other than Terrell's 4K footage that he has from the front. So
there's a lot of, if you look at the Israeli pagers, it's assumed that it's a similar, if not the same type of explosive that was used inside the pagers that would have been used inside of this road mic. I
think that you should, since you love debating, you should debate someone like John Bray, who's worked on that theory for 11 months, and ask those sorts of questions of how a shaped charge would work. I presented the evidence of what was in the car, and I also, at that episode that you're clipping, said John Bray has done an unbelievable amount of work on this, and I think he has debated a ton of people, actually, regarding this topic. So that's the route that I would send you on. For the purposes of my show, I do believe, to answer your question, that it is a hypothetical. I mean, that it is a theory that should be thoroughly explored.
There's two clips your team wants to show. One of them is the Rob O'Neill clip, since we're on it. So if you guys are ready in the back before we go to ad break, if you want to pull it up, this is a good time to do so.
Poggers, bro. I love the dead silence. It kills me every
Good
time.
to see General Holt. A lot of things bothers me about this. Nothing in particular. It's not like I'm out there saying big lie or conspiracy or someone did it. I'm just saying I've been in a lot of shootings. I've killed more than a handful of people, and this thing looked shady off the bat. I mean, I've killed people closer than I saw the camera, and I've never seen a shirt move like that. That looks like an explosion to me. Just the fact that no one started doing first aid to Charlie Kirk, they were more concerned about getting SIM cards out of cameras, removing cameras, and then getting him off the X somehow. There didn't seem a lot of concern for his life. It seemed like just clean it up. And then, I mean, I've been told they paved it over a couple days later. And then you get Erica Kirk behind all the razzle dazzle, and she's really quick to forgive the alleged shooter, which technically says that was him because I forgive him, but then she can't forgive Candace Owens for having an opinion or asking questions. And they mock people by saying, "Oh, I'm just asking questions." Yeah, I'm a SEAL Team 6 sniper. I'm asking a lot of questions. No one wants to answer them.
And you're able to.
I think people
He's
will
actually
answer
said
your
very
questions.
little about the explosive there.
Yeah,
so
I'm
he
just saying
starts,
he observed. He said he's shot people up close,
Yeah.
and he's never seen a shirt
No
move like
dispute.
that, and it looked to him like an explosive.
So what?
That's
no,
what he
no
just
dispute,
said.
but when I play that video at full speed, I can't see a shirt moving. I can only see a shirt moving when we slow it way down. So if I'm in real time, I'm just assuming this, right? If I was in real time and I was in like a close quarters combat, you kill somebody situation, and I shot them, would you even see the shirt move?
Well, I just feel like 5 minutes ago you were arguing that it was because the bullet carried air. Now you're saying you don't see the shirt move at all.
Yeah, but that's if you slow it down.
when you see
the disbursement of air, that's where you're going to see it, right? It's going to be very quick.
Yeah.
Very, 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 very fast.
Yeah,
and then
that's
over.
not what I saw, and clearly it's not.
when it's
what
slowed
he
down.
saw, and he thinks that there could be an explosive. So
Did
I'm
you
just
see
saying
the
to you,
video slowed
you-
down?
people disagree with you. Your opinion's on a fact. That's all.
I
I
understand.
think that's a good place
His
for us
opinion's
to.
on a fact either.
If we have another a break, and then we can keep answering your questions.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, sounds good.
Perfect. We'll do a quick 3.5 minute ad break. We'll be back for the
Nope.
last segment.
Okay. Just gonna skip that. And there we go.
Just have two more clips to play,
Okay.
right? And then
Poggers.
we can do final thoughts. I'm guessing. I feel like we got where we were trying to go, or at least for the most part. So the
He
two
doesn't
other
have any
clips.
positive evidence.
I do want to play the
Poggers.
Twigs clip. That one is important to me. The Twigs DNA clip.
Yeah.
And they're gonna pull it up just to have you respond.
Well,
to it.
you don't have to play it because, like, if you're saying that when I initially watched it, I thought that Lance Twiggs' DNA, like, he was directly responding to that because the testimony was a bit confusing. They started by saying that they were going to, like, explaining how they got the samples, and they said Lance, Matt, and Lance, Matt, and Amber Robinson, how they got their DNA samples, and then they started speaking about the gun and said, multiple prints were found on them. And then they moved and they said Lance Twiggs' DNA was found on the screwdriver. When I went back and rewatched it, I realized, well, they haven't officially said that Lance or Amber are on the gun. So I think I've already conceded that we don't know that. So I think, like, but if you want to play the
this
clip
is
to
directly you saying it is on the gun. Twigs'
yeah,
DNA
I'm saying
is
that
on
I
the
feel
gun.
like I've already said to you, like, I've made that concession. But just to be clear, whenever I make a mistake, I just correct it. So that's why when you were asking me 3 times, I've already said we don't know yet, and I've corrected that mistake. So if the purpose of you showing this is to demonstrate that Candace makes mistakes sometimes when she's taking in a lot
Oh,
of
I got a strike
information
squad,
and she's
Pog.
reading through legal documents and she's trying to remember
no, it's not
9-hour
actually.
testimony.
It's just demonstrate something else. It is, in fact, the case. We're all going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
I'm going to make mistakes.
And I've
on
already
the case.
I've already
You're going to make
conceded.
mistakes on the case.
Yeah.
But in this case, you were very adamant that his DNA was on the gun itself.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that it's not ruled out. We know that there's 5+ prints. I've said this so many times. I had to rewatch the testimony again. It's like 9 hours a day. It got very scientific when they were speaking about this, and I think I wrongly extrapolated that they meant all 3 of them were on the prints when the only person they officially named was Matt Robinson. So we don't know yet if
No, but I get up.
Lance Twiggs has his DNA on the prints,
Right.
DNA on the gun officially just yet.
Okay.
I've already conceded that.
Sure.
So
That's fine. And then the last one is
Yeah.
one with Erica Kirk.
sure. This is like the Erica Kirk.
Dude, you were
All right,
Well, this
Erica.
just
You
goes
could
back-
just sit down with me, Erica,
This
but we
just
can do it
goes-
this way.
This goes back to a previous claim that you made.
Yeah,
That's why
sure.
I'm bringing it up.
Straight to jail, straight to jail. For questioning, at least, Erica.
straight
I don't
to
care who's
jail.
mad. I really do not care who wants to be upset after this episode, really, you will be wasting your breath.
Straight to jail.
You can spend $1 billion
For
on
what?
influencers because this is all becoming increasingly inexplicable. You are asking me to be an idiot, actually, and I cannot do that for you. Someone once commented
sure
beneath
about that?
this show that if the situations were reversed and there were this many verifiable lies.
So straight to jail.
Yeah, so that's the show intro, and straight to jail is a monopoly term.
Okay.
Like, you know.
So do not pass go.
Yeah.
Do not collect $200.
Yes, it's
You're going straight to
obviously
jail.
tongue in
Do
cheek,
not
and then
collect
we explain that actually I think
$300,000.
that she should be brought in for questioning because of inconsistencies. So this is the exact episode when I started to think that she should be sat down and questioned, and I still believe that. I still hold the perspective that Erica should be sat down and she should be properly questioned.
Do you know that she hasn't been?
No, actually, that would be a great thing for the spokesperson of Turning Point USA to say that she's already
but why-
sat through.
why do they-
I mean, my guess would be she hasn't because they returned everything to her.
Yeah.
But
Why do they owe you that though? Why
they don't owe me
Yeah.
anything. That's
Then why
my
do you
show
keep
you're
asking
watching. Because
for
you know
it?
the clips that you're pulling are
Yeah.
from my show. So if I want to
Yeah.
say something on my show, I can say that. I
You
didn't
can.
say they owe me
Yeah, but you
something. I
still
don't
are
think
held
that's ever
responsible.
unless
You
you
can,
have
but
another
if you
clip.
say like you need to be sat down for questioning
Yeah.
and you don't even know if they haven't been, that's strange, right?
Do you know if they have been?
No, I have no idea.
So you're just saying, what if they haven't been?
Yeah, if your
you're just kind
entire
of filling the air
if your
with
entire
just
thing is
junk.
if you're no, it's not junk. If the
not. It's
query
literally
is
questioning
why
the
is it that
questioner.
Erica Kirk's not being sat down for questioning, but you have absolutely no knowledge whether or not she's been sat down for questioning or not. What that does is it creates an innuendo. It creates an inference. It creates out to the ethos that this should be happening because something's wrong here when you actually don't have the knowledge that anything's wrong at all.
I just think that my opinion is that she should be sat down and questioned.
My opinion is that you should
But
be
you're not
sat
sure
down
if she
questioned.
hasn't been.
Yeah, and you're not sure if she has been either. So, like I said, I feel like now you're just kind of filling the
Well,
air
to
with
my
nonsense.
knowledge,
Because
this
Turning
is
Point's
to-
like, we want
to my
make
knowledge,
sure that you go in there and
nobody-
you defend Erica. And I have to say, I don't think you've done an extraordinary job
Great,
at that.
but I'm not here to defend Erica. The thing
well,
is,
I
though,
would
is
say
like
that since 4 out of 5 of the clips that you
Yeah.
had on the ready when we asked you guys ahead of time. I mean, I want to just assert how professionally we have dealt with this debate. As you can see, we have not planned any gotcha clips for Andrew. I expressed to him that what we were going to do was just to use people for fact checks, and because I might not remember something, or
How's it
I
feel?
do remember something and you're saying no, and that is what I think will register to people as very
Well, wait,
fair.
I expressly
We did not take out of
wait, what?
context clips of Andrew
the
But
to
I
try to
expressly said
please
that
don't
I
cut
was
me
going to
off.
bring
We
claims,
did not.
right?
No, when you said you were going to bring claims
Your
that you want me to
claims.
speak to, you didn't say I intend on sitting you down with out of contexted clips to which we said to you before
The
in an
irony
email.
is crazy.
Any clips that you want to share with us, send it
Mm-hmm.
over. Let's assert a debate claim so that we can both be ready to respond
irony
to
is
it.
unironically
This
insane.
just
that's not really what happened.
well. What didn't
yeah,
happen?
the way that you're framing the exchange, that's
do you
not
mean?
that's not actually what happened. We were negotiating. It is true we negotiated out the claim itself, right? Which one's going to take which position? I wanted to make sure that I had at least an hour and a half on mine, and you got the time for yours to question me. We did. We got through your hour and a half on mine, roughly an hour and a half now on mine. That's basically how this went.
But in the beginning, I did not take an hour and a half to just pull out of context clips with Andrew. I actually debated the substance of what's going on in this trial and this hearing, and I do think that
There's-
I think you fell short of that.
There's
And
nothing
you-
out of. Hang on.
And
There's
I did
nothing
not
here
say,
except
I'm
holding
just
you to
gonna
account
get
for
you
your
to say
claims.
yes or no. Well, hold on. We
Yeah,
were
I think
supposed
this
to
is
be,
hard. I need to get back to my
debating
base.
the case
This
and
is
whether
part
or
of the
not
case.
there was overwhelming evidence.
These are your claims about the case.
No, you then admitted that now you're getting into another sphere and you want to talk about the transcendentals and things that I've
And we
said.
got through-
And like 4
yeah.
out of 5 of your clips are about Erica Kirk. So the general
I
perception
don't think 4 out of 5 even
is
were.
your Turning Point's horse.
Oh,
I
so you
think
just-
quite
just-
a few
you
of
just-
them were.
you
Was
just-
there 3
just made it
Ericas
up?
or 4?
So you're just making stuff
Can
up?
we get a count of how many were about Erica? I feel like
I think it was
Yeah.
3.
Why does that
3.
matter?
Okay,
Yeah,
3. I
3.
said 4.
But those are extraordinary
sorry.
claims, which is why you were asked
Okay,
about them.
well,
right?
okay, but the point being is now you're veering into trying to get me to defend my opinions, and then you completely shirk responsibility
Your
when I
claims.
point out yours.
Your
no, they're not
claims.
claims. When
No,
you
they're
tweet
claims.
Erica is
They're
too
literally
retarded, you go,
claims.
that's just whatever, and then you move on.
That's a claim that I'm responsible for the claim.
Well, earlier when I brought it up, you said that it was tongue in cheek.
Yes.
Yes,
Sure.
the
That's me
tongue-in-cheek
responding to your criticism
Okay.
of the claim. That's all I'm doing here.
I was interested, and
And I'm happy to get into also the Patsy stuff now, if you would like to.
well,
Your
that
team
was
has one more
supposed
clip
to
they
be
want
the
to
whole
play
They want
from
more.
7 days
Okay,
ago.
sorry.
They got one
They
more
had
clip.
to.
and
We
then
were
can
getting
go to
into the
Patsy.
Patsy stuff, and you stopped it, and I was explaining to you. Oh, they have one more clip. Okay, let's go.
They want to hit the minimum of 4 clips you were saying with Erica. So
100%.
This is absurd.
Aw, someone mad and they're getting.
Okay.
That they have to.
And this is the one
Answer
you're saying
for what
from
they've said?
7 days ago.
Holy cow, that's a lot of people. That's what they said. That's what Candace Owens said. I'm gaming.
Okay. While they're looking for that, do you want to continue?
I'm
Yeah,
professional.
I mean,
Yeah,
can I
yeah.
ask a question? I know
Yeah,
it's
sure,
been-
bro.
Or like, can I ask a question? Or are we
Not
just in
really. I'm just gonna.
Okay.
We're gonna hold to the actual contract itself.
The contract does not say that you
That's
are
so
allowed
funny.
to just question me without me being able to respond to you
I've never said you
or
can't
have
respond.
a conversation.
You've been able to respond to every question I've asked you. And by the way, the other thing is like
Let's have
I'm
it your
still-
way. I want it to look like
Still happy
we've
to have
done
the
everything
debate.
Andrew wanted to, so that people can fairly assess the situation. So you have it your way. I
Totally
will not
fine.
ask a question.
Totally fair with me.
Cool.
So are you good with her asking a question or no?
He said no.
Waiting for the clip.
Okay. So you want to wait for the clip first. Okay.
W. Andrew. Stand
guys
on
have it in the
actual
back?
business, brother. King.
Okay,
Oh
beautiful.
my gosh, what the hell is this? I need a dude. This is the final mission because this is ridiculous. I need new weapons. I need upgrades. Look at
You
this.
need
This
to
is
Jeopardy.
He
bonkers.
told me they had it. So
That's what I heard. Okay, there we
come
go.
on, guys.
Did this
Yeah,
crime.
come on, trolling.
Okay? Because Lance
I can't hear
Twiggs
this. My
has
thing
his
went out. Just
DNA
tell me what
on
it
the
says after.
towel.
It's fine.
Lance Twiggs has
Trolling.
his DNA on the rifle.
Lance Twiggs
And to
had
be
his
clear,
DNA on the
Lance
rifle.
Twiggs'
Said this- they say this 4
DNA
times,
was
but I don't
not
know why they feel
as
like they need
degraded
to-
as Tyler Robinson's DNA was on Tyler's rifle. It's Tyler's rifle.
Oh, you
but
also
Lance's
said, yeah, it's
DNA
not as degraded on the rifle.
Yeah, because I thought he was one of the things, but I've already that's what I mean when I say that. Like, it just seems like you're not actually here trying to
Oh,
engage.
all my guys are
because
dead. That's why I'm
even
cooked.
before you got to this, and I knew that you had some secret clip planned. I said
this
to
is
you
not
when
fun.
I rewatched the testimony, I realized that they didn't explicitly say Lance Twiggs. They said 5 other
Holy cow.
profiles were on it, and that his was the most degraded. So I hope your team feels fulfilled in playing that. Is there any more? I'm happy to play every clip that he has on the ready. Anybody?
You said you had some new evidence at the beginning of the.
Oh yeah,
debate
we should
you had
show that
something
text
new.
message that you
Did
read, just
wanna
because
share
I
that?
think that's important for the public.
No.
You shared it out of context,
I'll do it on my show. I'll share the
so you're going to read it on my show but not show it.
Base. Base.
I'll show it on my show.
Actual
But
base.
That's what I'll do. I'll show it on my
Can
show.
I ask why?
Well, because I want to drip out the evidence. You know, that's got to
King.
drip out that evidence. Keep people coming back for the show, right?
I don't know if snark serves you so well.
I'm just saying, like,
snark literally
yeah,
serves him
I'll
perfectly.
release it there. Yeah, that's my intention. But yeah, I'm fine with closings if you want to do closings.
Well, I also would just, if I may ask the
killed it, bro.
question, is that permitted?
No.
Just so I also have clarity, since your basis has been evidentiary, you keep saying that you have evidence or like you are following evidence. Which one of the charges against, or all of them, do you think Tyler Robinson is guilty of?
The specific charge?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I think is that Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, but of the 7 charges that he's being charged.
Yeah, can we list them real quick? I'll tell you exactly which ones. We'll pull
You don't
them
even
up.
know
Well,
him?
do you know any of the charges that he's up for right now?
Yeah, of course. But I
Can you-
want to
can you
make sure
name
that we
one?
have them listed.
Yeah, but like can you name one? Because my general perspective is that you don't actually care about this case. You're not following
Is that
the
it?
case.
That's the
Yeah.
question. You're
Yeah,
just
but-
not
but, I mean,
following it
seems,
enough.
It seems pretty, like, if you're going to engage and you're going to say the evidence is overwhelming that Tyler Robinson is guilty, I just think that you should, like,
All right.
can you tell me one
Then let's do the
charge
counter.
that he's...
You can really, yeah, no, this is a great gotcha.
No. You just got to ask me, play
Yeah.
clips out of context,
Yeah,
put me
yeah.
in the hot seat. So please just answer the
This
question.
is fair.
Can
Name
you
all
name,
7 since you've been following the case.
Okay, sure.
Go ahead.
You name one.
Yeah, you named all 7.
I'm happy to do that, but can you name one?
I think he's been charged with murder.
That's actually incorrect.
Okay, great. Now name all 7.
He doesn't even. This is like.
Name all 7.
And I.
Can you
I
name
think
all 7?
I can.
Then do it.
Okay.
Sure,
Well,
you
I
don't
thought
have to
Do
put
it.
your.
No, do it. I'll count them. Go ahead.
Oops.
You don't have
Name
to put
'em.
your fingers up. I
Okay,
can do
hang on.
that.
Name them.
Yeah, sure.
second.
Name them.
The first charge is aggravated murder because that's what carries
Okay.
a death
So
sentence in the
murder.
state of Utah. No,
Next.
that's not. That is literally not murder.
Okay.
And so
Next.
just for people, no, don't. I don't have to do it in a time limit. There's nothing going on And just to explain to people the difference of why that really matters and shows that he doesn't actually care about this at all is because aggravated murder, it's narrowly defined,
Just
and because
avoiding
it
the
carries
question.
a death sentence. I'm going to answer the question.
Okay.
Okay. Pause real quick. So funny.